Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Leo Vader.
Wow, yes, nice.
The hero from last week, holding down the fort, along with Kyle Bossman and everybody else. Thank you for stepping up, man.
My pleasure. Very fun.
We got Kelsey Lewin here.
Second is the best.
That's right. We have the dirty third, Jeff Markiafava.
What a terrible nickname.
We have Haley McLean.
Hi, gamers.
And that's a full show, everybody. We couldn't possibly stack any more people in this episode, but what if we kept going? We have Jacob Geller joining us. Jacob Geller.
Me and Ben are best friends now.
That's right. Tudo Bame, Jacob. We're also joined by the one and only Ana Diaz, everybody.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Returning champion, former MinnMax cohort, left years ago to join Polygon. And obviously, there's a lot to unpack with the state of Polygon and games media, and we're going to do that on this very episode. But Ana, how you doing?
Not as bad as maybe I'm just like grateful for all the support right now. Like, obviously things are really stressful, but all things considered, I think I'm doing okay. So thanks to other people who've been scooping me and lifting me up.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. We'll unpack it because last week was probably the worst week ever in terms of games media, with Giant Bomb and Polygon getting, how would you call it, a deadly blow to the side of the head for both sites here. So there's a lot to unpack, just talking about the state of games media, all that wild stuff. But, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for being here. You can always shout out in the comments with sites that you think deserve some love, games outlets you think are kind of unsung. Like, I don't want to tip too much into this journey that we're going to unpack later in the episode, but you think about all the sites that are just quietly appreciated that could probably use a boost, just like a gameindustry.biz or a game developer.
Unwinnable.
Right.
Unwinnable.
There we go. Unwinnable. I mean, just give a shout out in the comments, everybody, for sites that you think could use some more love before we unpack the state of the games industry here. Speaking of state of the games industry, we are a MinnMax, we are a Patreon supported outlet there at patreon.com.
We are a MinnMax, baby.
We are a MinnMax, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, baby, yeah. But patreon.com/MinnMax, everybody. And so completely independent, everything's directly coming from Patreon. At the same time, for years now, it's been like, boy, it's kind of a scary thing to have all your eggs in Patreon's basket. And we're feeling good about Patreon at this point, but you never know. And so for a long time now, it's like we should diversify the avenues of support for people. And so officially, what we're doing here is we are launching YouTube memberships for MinnMax. You can become a MinnMax supporter by supporting us directly through YouTube at the $10 tier. Basically, we took the Backstage Pass tier from Patreon and we're duplicating that tier on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/MinnMax with 2 N's/join, or if you're watching this on YouTube, there should be an option right there. Just hit join. You can click on that and you can directly support independent games media. This is for everybody who's been reaching out for years, being like, Patreon isn't in my country, or I don't want to make a Patreon account. Now you have an option to directly support independent games media if you so choose by supporting us and getting a MinnMax membership right here on YouTube. So we greatly appreciate it. It's not just out of the kindness of your heart, though. That's very sweet, and we appreciate that. But if you jump in and support us at that $10 tier on YouTube, which is the only option there, so it's nice and clean for you, you will get access to all of our extended videos, which, Leo, I added it up. It's 140 hours of content right now if you jump in and support us on YouTube there. And
not like the Patreon option is bad, but it's the new cleanest way to see all those things laid out for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
For people who complain about that.
And you get a link for it, and it's in a post in the community/post tab where you can find the link for all the extended versions, but not just the extended versions of things like, 3 hours of Janet and I playing the Nintendo Switch 2 at the preview event, or the huge version of the GDC travelogue. We have the Summer Game Fest travelogue that's going to be coming up. You can get the extended version of that. Jacob and I just got back from Brazil together. That extended version of the travelogue, which will be 8.5 hours of us exploring Sao Paulo, that is going to be available on Patreon, then also in the YouTube membership. Also, just me exploring Disneyland with Mike Minotti for something like 7 hours, just laughing our butts off the entire time.
You got the full Disneyland trip in
Oh
there.
my God, that was so fun. I'm so glad I have that recorded. And on top of that, even if you just want to unlock the pissy zones, which is after our Game of the Year debates, once we wrap up our Game of the Year debates, we let her loose for about an hour of content that should not be shared publicly.
The meanest we ever are all year.
It is outrageous. This last year in particular was very fun, but it gets raw in a good, fun, feisty way. And so that is all available in that same playlist, which you get access to if you support us through the whole YouTube membership there. So jump in, you can help support us. And couple things. Since MinnMax started, we have been collecting clips. If you see me often, maybe you hear me frantically typing on my keyboard. I'm writing down time codes of like, that zinger from Sarah was so good, I got to get this. Or that was such a smart comment from Kelsey, I got to get this. Or Jeff farted on Mike, I got to write down that time code. These types of killer moments. So we've been, thanks Haley, we've been taking clips. For years and years and years, we've been gathering clips. And what if I told you that it's all gathering for this one event, the MinnMaxathon, which is going to be happening this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central on YouTube. We're going to be randomizing clips from the full history of MinnMax. I just put them all in a VLC playlist, and it was over 24 hours worth of MinnMax clips that are like, 10 seconds to a minute long, and we're just going to be randomizing all of those, and we're going to be reacting to them along the way, along with chat, and this is all as a drive to promote the MinnMax membership on YouTube. So you can jump in and support that if you feel like seeing that randomized roulette wheel of a bunch of MinnMax moments from our 5.5-year history is worth supporting, so we appreciate that. Couple things. YouTube membership, you can cancel whenever you want. No harm done. Totally get it. Also, if you're a Patreon supporter and you're wondering, boy, I really want to support MinnMax, that's great. You're already doing it on Patreon. There's no reason to double up on YouTube. There won't be anything on YouTube that's not on Patreon, but we appreciate everybody's support there. That's it, everybody. Tune in for the MinnMaxathon. We have links below. That'll be happening this Friday on YouTube, the evening of Friday.
It won't be 24 hours long, right?
No, it won't be. No, I'll need to sleep at some point, but I'm looking forward to just like cracking a beer with whoever wants to swing by for a bit and just like going through that roulette history of the last 5.5 years of my life. Like it's really.
I'll crack a frickin' beer. That sounds like a nice Friday.
It's going to be lovely. But wild times in the game industry. Lots of ups and downs. Last week, obviously, was tumultuous, and they also announced that GTA 6 was getting delayed. And everybody said, boo, I can't believe you do it to us. And then this week they released a new trailer for GTA 6 and everybody said, yay, this looks amazing. We're excited for this thing.
Good order of those things.
PR.
Yeah, they seem to know exactly what we're doing. We have a reaction stream up on our YouTube channel if you want to see a raw reaction to the new trailer for GTA 6. Jacob, how are you sitting with GTA 6's second trailer after a day or two of living with it here?
I really like it. I think it's, some of the conversation has been they did not show any gameplay as we would typically define it of like third person behind the character, doing stuff. But like I have not been a fan historically of the GTA franchise because I just think that Rockstar has a real like piece of shit attitude in a way that I don't enjoy with Grand Theft Auto, that it's just kind of like you go to a website and it's like instead of Facebook, it's like pissbook.com, it's like that level
That's
of kind of satire. And so I really liked that this trailer was kind of about like the world vibes, which still seem nice and wacky, but like two characters who both already seem interesting and complicated and seem like they're going to have like a relationship that I'm really invested in. Yeah. It was just like, okay, this is what, in terms of like what I want from one of these sorts of games and kind of, like what I got from Red Dead Redemption 2, which makes it one of the best stories ever. Like this is the kind of thing I want them to put their $1 billion budget towards.
Yes. I mean, there's like the bigger picture of, God, I can't wait to see what the most expensive video game of all time looks like. But then on top of that, actually being like, having like a romance as the core story, presumably that's running throughout GTA 6, like that is making me so much more compelled than I thought. And just not to get crass, but just like having sexiness as like a core pillar of this trailer. It's like
I watched you guys reacting live in bed. At one point, you just yelled "sex."
it's so rare. But because I realized what it was, I looked up Wikipedia.
It's that kind of insight you have to come to MinnMax for.
You gotta be careful, man. They're gonna put that in a sizzle reel at the Game Awards. You gotta be careful having moments like that.
In memoriam, Ben Hansen. Yeah, did you like the trailer, Haley? As a huge Rockstar nut?
I'm a Rockstar nut. I very much agree with Jacob. I love the GTA is a fun thing to play, and like the story is whatever. You know, that's how it always has kind of felt for me. GTA 5 is an okay story, but yeah, I'm very tired of like, you know, my wife won't stop bitching, shut up, or like that's like all the characterization we have for like a woman in the game. So I'm like, okay, cool. But
she cheated too.
She did with the
Don't forget that. She's also a cheater.
Oh, I guess you guys don't know satire. Okay.
We're commenting on whores. Whatever. So I'm very excited that they're taking a lot of the lessons they clearly learned in the characterizations of characters within Red Dead, which are so solidly good.
Hopefully.
I just adore those characters still to this day. I can name every single person in that freaking group up on that hill in chapter 2 of my family. So I'm very excited for them to bring that over to this, which is so far historically for me personally has been more about I'm just excited to drive a car around and like follow the rules of the road when I'm bored or whatever. Like I just use it as like a playground. It's fun that it'll have like a good story. I'm very excited for that. At least it looks like it's going to.
I'm just so curious to see like if they fully replicate the ridiculousness of like the Miami highway system.
Ooh,
because
interesting.
Yes. Oh my God,
family's
true.
from Miami, and like I have never experienced fear like I've experienced when driving in that city. I'm like this story's great, but I'm like really worried about like how are we gonna get from place to place? Like
Yeah, how chaotic
good
could possibly
point.
make it?
My Miami thought I haven't considered right now is, do you think we'll have drivable cruise ships?
Oh my God.
Ooh.
you can drive a car onto a cruise ship. I'll bet you that will be something
That'll be a set
you can
piece,
do.
yeah.
Like a parked,
Yeah,
you know.
an entire like mini story on the cruise ship I could see. Yeah, I bet that's going to be the case. Like on their site, which, by the way, have you checked out the GTA 6 site? It's like one of the most beautiful sites I've seen in a long time. It's just like a beautiful scroll, and it's working through like all the different areas in the game, which you think like, okay, it's Vice City. But then you go to the site and you start to realize, oh no, it's like the entire state, which is called Leonida instead of Florida, right? But it's like, okay, there's a whole national park in there, like a mountain national park. We're doing all of the keys. Like it just keeps expanding more and more until you realize the scope of what they're building here. And it just seems incredible.
Oh my God, the site's awesome. It's so fun to scroll.
I know, right?
Yeah, I love
the characters move as they animate down.
I'm excited that there'll definitely be like a farm or something somewhere. Because you're telling me they're going to put all that energy into making horses amazing in Red Dead, and then you can't ride a horse in GTA 6. There's got to be some mission where you're riding horses, and I'm just going to spend all my time over at the farm riding horses around.
Or that scared them off of it because it was such a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
But they already did it all. They got the horses all mocapped and stuff. They don't want to do that again. They're like, chuck it in there. Why not?
These are Florida horses. They're completely different. Like, I guess that's
The
kind of
racehorses. Oh, they'll have a racehorse level. Sorry.
Guaranteed.
Yes.
It's like, I guess this is kind of like the magic of GTA 6, why it's the biggest thing in the world and everyone can get so hype about it, because when these games cover so much territory, it's like how Leo feels about Streets of Rogue 2 and the infinite potential of it. Like all of us can assign our hopes and dreams onto this canvas that's just Florida.
This needs
They're
to
gonna put
fix my...
Bayonetta in the game. They have to.
It's stupid not to. Like it's so weird looking at the trailer and it's like, okay, the most expensive game ever made. And somehow you need to have the most expensive game ever made to like highlight these little small slice of life moments, which is really what popped for me in the trailer. Like the more I rewatch it, that first minute of just like Jason going around his life and everybody subtly hitting on him from the distance and stuff like that. But just those quiet little moments, or my favorite scene in the trailer now is when Lucia like comes home and she just like collapses on Jason on the couch, and she's wearing kind of like blaze orange, like it's in probation or something after she got out of prison, and she's like throws her keys on the table and collapses on him exhausted. It's like, it's so weird that the most expensive game ever made, that's what you need to have just like that accurate of just like, okay, there's reality. I'm seeing life in a video game, which is a little too rare, I feel like.
Animation budget must go crazy on this game.
I guess so, yeah.
I can't even begin to think every single person walking around. Like even you pointed out in the thing, like the party boat people.
Oh my God.
How long until their animations loop?
Yes.
15 seconds, 10 minutes? Like who knows?
That's just the huge scope of what you can be hyped about. Like I am more excited to watch those party boats and to watch those animations than to do any mission in GTA 6. I just want to camp out and enjoy that.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean,
GTA is good for people watching.
Yeah.
it really
You can
is.
just do that. Sometimes I just like don't do anything in these games and I just kind of like watch what the NPCs are doing because it's interesting.
Absolutely. Going on walks places. I used to do that all the time when GTA 5 dropped. And GTA 4 too. Like just for the time, it still is hitting that level of a new high for realisticness. And it's fun to hopefully, again, all fingers crossed, see them lean into like, we can make a grounded story that is attempting to make you care more versus like, let's make the most realistic world ever and then you're driving your poop car around.
I mean, yeah, so the way they pitch the story in the description for the YouTube video, which already has 79 million views, it says Jason and Lucia have, yeah, it's nuts. Jason and Lucia have always known that the deck is stacked against them, but when an easy score goes wrong, they find themselves on the darkest side of the sunniest place in America, in the middle of a conspiracy stretching across the state of Leonida, forced to rely on each other more than ever if they want to make it out alive. I think it's, probably a crime against drama, but like, wouldn't it be nice if they just like stuck together the whole game? If they were just like a tight couple that loved each other?
If they were just
Yeah.
super cool and emotionally intelligent and just like
Loki-
work
What if
through it
they
all
just had
together,
no
that would be
conflict?
Makes for great stories. Characters
But the conflict can come exterior to them. That'd be kind of lovely in a way, is that like they're so rock solid, but everything else around them is like the worst.
Yeah.
Which
That
would
would
be
make
very
me really
Florida,
interested.
too, to be honest. If anywhere that could happen, that would be a fake Florida.
Right. They're just too busy making out throughout the entire game to worry about any conflict potentially popping up between them.
Ben, did you catch that the guy in the beginning? I think the only like official cast member announced is Stephen Root, who's like Fuchs from Barry, so one of my guys.
I mean, you mean Jimmy James from News Radio. Give him his credit, please.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Hang on, but did they actually announce that, or is everyone just guessing based on the voice? Because it clearly is him, but I don't know if he's announced it anywhere.
100% is him, yes.
Okay.
I knew as soon
I don't
as
know if they
heard
announced
his
it, but if
voice.
you go on like
I don't know-
IMDb,
yeah.
GTA 6 has one person listed, and it's Stephen Root as that guy.
That's amazing. That's
If it's not him, they're using AI and they're going to get sued by him for putting his voice in it because it's undeniable.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Like that. Yeah, Stephen Ritt belongs in GTA 6, of course. And like,
And just think of like how many other famous voice actors they're going to have. Like they had Samuel L. Jackson like 20 years ago in San Andreas.
Right,
it's like they can get anyone they want now. And I'm sure it's just going to be a who's who of famous people.
But yeah, Bobby Moynihan's in there. Obviously, the gloves are off. They can do whatever.
I mean, is that him?
money's
as
no
well?
object.
Red Dead 2's was Red Dead 2's voice actor list like star-studded?
No,
Like obviously they were all very good, but is that just like a GTA Red Dead?
that's a
separation
GTA
thing?
kind of, yeah. I mean, Ray Liotta, was like first voiced character, and I'm sure they're going to be. I would think at least.
On that note, though, it is fun
continue
to just have like a little bit more of these two main characters, the actors playing the two main characters, who are going to be launched into known names from this, same as the Red Dead crew and the GTA 5 main cast. Like you're just these are the people we're gonna be seeing clips of talking about the process of making this for a decade after.
There's going to be so many cameos for them. They're getting their cameo page ready to go for Haley when she wants to drop big bucks on these things. Yeah, I like, it wasn't until cruising the Reddit a little bit where it's like, oh, okay, that's probably exactly what they're going for. Where like the opening line is Jason up on the roof and he's like, I'm just fixing some leaks here. It's like, oh, that's probably a reference to the gigantic GTA 6 leak. I didn't piece that together until too late, probably. But
That's
of course. See, Jacob, their writing is pitch perfect at this point. Flawless.
I liked it better when I didn't know that was. I'm going to choose to believe that's not intentional.
Yeah, I mean, other tidbits in the trailer that pop for anybody? Things you want to highlight?
Sex.
Sex. There was certainly sex. There's no doubt about it.
Sex is going crazy in that.
Yeah.
The beer bottles that you pointed out in that too, but I looked like just the way they're jingling around and the thing he's holding.
Yeah.
Like individual assets within other assets, and they have their own physics within the asset thing that's realistic. Oh my God.
Yeah, and they say all captured on PS5. They didn't even say PS5 Pro in there, but it's funny that in the trailer there is like a parody of a PS5 that's like next to the TV. It's like, oh, has this game been in development for so long that they had to replace their PS4 parody with the PS5 parody just to make it sure it's fully up to date? And
Yeah, I want, like, Digital Foundry can sometimes do, I think they get, like, if they get the uncompressed trailer, they can do, like, a resolution count of just being, like, what res is this actually going at? And I feel like from that, you could maybe get a guess of, like, is it actually PS5 or PS5 Pro? Because it just seems like if they were running it on a base PS5, I feel like they would have made a bigger deal of saying this is a base PS5. You know, for it to be like a tiny little flex that like 1% of people would notice, that it's like it's not on a Pro. And for it to presumably look worse doesn't really make sense to me as like a marketing strategy.
well, then you'd have to make two versions because Xbox has to upload it on their YouTube channel. And like, would that be weird if they're leaning too much into that?
Why would you have to make two versions?
If you're like having a big flash screen that says, this looks great on a base PS5.
I just like, why would they do it on a base PS5? What would be the reasoning?
Maybe they just forgot the PS5 Pro exists like me.
Right. I think that's
be.
entirely possible. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's like stuff that you can really lean into here. Like, okay, Lucia has, she has like AirPods
Big
in.
muscles?
She had,
okay.
her back is out of control muscular. And apparently she's been like trained to be a fighter her entire life and stuff, but she has AirPods a couple times throughout the trailer. And so like, okay, is that meaning that you can listen to music now, even if you're not in a car, just as you're roaming around? That's gotta be the case, right? If they're already showing that in trailers and screenshots and stuff.
Gotta.
And there's stuff like, okay, Jason's lifting weights in the beginning as the girls are ogling him and stuff. Like, is that coming back from San Andreas in a big way? Can you change your body type like in Red Dead 2 in a big way again here? Like, there's a lot of reading into it that the super fans have done, which is fun to...
I want to make a real quick prediction on the AirPods. I think they will go so far, Rockstar level of detail, you can do the noise canceling thing you can on AirPods Max.
I think that's a great call.
Turn on
That's
or
a
off
great
noise
call.
canceling of your surroundings.
Yep, I think that's right. No one take that bet because he's 100% right. But yeah, so May 26th, a little more than a year from now, presumably
2026
is when this thing's coming out. And now it's like, it's probably going to be, 8 months, 9 months, and then we'll get one of those like overview trailers. Where it's like, in the world of GTA 6, these are the things you can do. And that's when we'll see gameplay. That's probably going to be the next pillar of marketing here.
Yeah.
They'll probably lead with the AirPods.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's smart.
They dropped the first trailer like a week before the Game Awards, right?
Yep.
Do you think, they could do that again?
No.
Again, a year later.
just a stunt on Keeley?
I mean, I feel like they kind of already did. I mean, just like a month before the Game Awards.
That's true.
Yeah. But I mean, this thing is going to be $80, right? Does anyone want to gamble anything else? 80, 90?
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah,
Why not
especially with it
1,000?
coming out so late now. Like, I mean, unless things start reversing quick, like supply chain alone is going to be insane. I don't. Maybe they won't do physical copies. Like, this could be weird.
Never know. Weird world now, which is what we're going to unpack on this episode. But before we get to that, we do have a special message from a Patreon supporter who wrote in for community questions, but I had to jump it ahead here. Clayton Carroll says, hey, I was watching a MinnMax show from 2022, and Jeffem was on the episode, and he assuredly said that he would finish Red Dead 2. You gave a good cutoff, challenging him to finish it before Rockstar released their next game. And Jeffem agreed with the challenge, thinking he had all the time in the world, which he did. Since that time seems to be finally approaching 1 year from now, I wanted to know if Jeffem was going to honor the challenge and finish Red Dead 2 before GTA 6 releases.
I
Wait,
didn't.
Jeffem has been delaying GTA 6 this whole time?
Yeah, oh my God, they watched that
Jeffem was the
episode.
leaker.
It was an iconic episode.
I sent him a message and was like, hey guys, I still haven't finished Red Dead 2. Please, can you push it back? And they were like, of course we will. When do you want it?
Reasonable.
And I said probably a year, maybe a little more than a year.
What chapter are you in?
I have no idea. I'm gonna have to start over. It's been so long.
Just the first chapter is the worst, walking through the snow and
Yeah.
stuff. That loses everybody.
Come on. I'll get through that at least.
No, you won't.
No, I got to the part where you're at the camp, and then I just never wanted to do anything other than go fishing and hunting.
Chapter.
Yeah,
He'll get it.
That's the chapter I live in.
Don't worry, he'll get right to it right before this game launches. It's absolutely happening. There's no other.
I thought he was. This whole time, which we've been talking about this for years, I thought he was like kind of close to finishing it. It just started.
Yeah, the part with the camp, like 4 hours in.
One of the first things you do.
This is I play it like I play, all the Bethesda games where it's just like I get far enough for the open world to open, and then I just do that forever and then never finish any games.
And you fall asleep on the couch
just live
forever.
with it and hear about it for the rest of my life.
But how will you learn about Dutch's downfall? Come on, Jeff.
Spoilers.
Or maybe
Red
Upfall.
Dead
Maybe
1.
Upfall.
It's not spoilers. Yeah, that's the plot of Red Dead 1 that came out in 2010.
So we can all debate whether or not this game's going to run well on our PS5. Or Leo, you know what we could be doing instead? We could be jacking in with a beautiful MSI motherboard, baby, and play games that you want on your PC. Because MSI, they're on a mission to make custom PC building easy, affordable, and accessible for everybody with the latest tech and unbeatable deals. Do you think you can beat these deals, Leo?
I would not have the hubris.
Good, you got
To
lucky.
even consider
Does
that.
anyone think you can beat these deals?
No.
Good.
No, sir.
Thank you, because they are truly unbeatable. According to MSI, you can get the Intel Z890 and the B860 motherboard, which are designed to support the latest Intel Core Ultra Series 2 processors. You can see it right now on Leo's screen.
Look at that bad boy.
There you go. What do you want, everybody? You can save 5% on those motherboards at the MSI US store with the promo code MSIPOD. If you're looking to upgrade or build a new custom PC, this is your option. Save 5%. Use the promo code MSIPOD. There's a link in the description, and also they're here to help you. If you're intimidated, they have some ways to guide you through the process of building your own PC, and you can get up to $120 in Steam codes on top of the motherboard discount. So check it out, everybody. MSIPOD, link below. Jeffem, why do I feel like you would have the strongest opinions about Xbox increasing their prices on absolutely everything in a time where I guess everyone's increasing their prices, but of all the people, Microsoft right now, like when you're in last place by a mile.
Probably because they're a $1 trillion company that spends billions of dollars acquiring all these studios only to shut most of them down, and they don't need any more money than they already have, but they're just going to do it because they can.
Okay,
and also they're giving no incentive for like why you should now buy an Xbox that's like $100 more. Like they're just raising it out of nowhere and being like, actually, this is going to cost more. You can play all our games everywhere else anyway, but if you did want to buy it, it's more expensive now.
And with the boycott,
is
it's like
wild.
there's multiple sides to it, but this, it's like everybody can hate this. Parts of it.
Well, it's all
Like, I feel like they're on BDS's side. They're like, yeah,
It's
don't buy
wild
our
to
stuff.
not be doing any amount of like. There's no trying here. Like they could at least be like, but you get 6 months of Game Pass or like something that wouldn't even like cost them any more money. I mean, server space or whatever, but like they would not cost them any real money to at least give some sort of incentive. But they're just like, it's more expensive now. And I get it. It probably is more expensive for them to be making everything right now. That's just the reality. But like, that's not how consumers operate. Like to just be like, it's all more expensive. Shrug is very strange.
I genuinely don't know the answer to this question, but like, are we going to spend the next, let's hope, 3 years, like getting mad at every company for raising prices?
Yes.
Like it does feel like this is going to happen with every other consumer product that we buy. And I don't know what to do about that. That like my electric toothbrush next month is going to cost twice as much as it does now. And it's not, I don't want to like let the companies off the hook. And I think Jeffem is right that Microsoft has $1 bazillion and they could do kind of whatever they want. But like everything is going to go up in price. Just like everything that we buy is going to increase.
Yeah, because of tariffs. And so I guess you just rarely see something, I don't know, are you passionate about your electric toothbrush in a way that people are passionate about playing games on their Xbox? Like I think just
He buys a new one every month.
Yeah.
He has a whole like
Throw
keeps
the
all
old
the
one in the
old
trash.
ones.
Game Pass
Black
subscription.
X360 or whatever they would call it.
But yeah, so prices here for the Xbox,
Sorry.
right? No, it's great. We got the
no, it's
Xbox
good.
Series. No, Haley, it was really good. You've supported me
Thanks.
with enough of my 3 out of 10 jokes. I'm here for yours.
Oh, thanks.
But that was like a 4, honestly. But anyways, the Xbox Series S, yeah. So the cheapest model, it went from $300 to $380, and then like the Xbox Series X, that's up $100 from $500 to $600, and that's like Jacob talked about. It's just the weirdest timing when clearly they're struggling to get Xboxes in homes. Their messaging is everything is an Xbox. They're putting their games. I mean, Gears of War is coming out on PS5 in August. Is the state of Microsoft gaming, and just Forza Horizon 5 is out on PS5 now. Everything is spread out, and so the idea of raising these prices now is just completely brutal.
It feels like they're trying to kill off. Like they just don't want to make consoles anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let's do this in the worst way possible so that we have a reason to not have to do it anymore. And we'll just be Game Pass going on, and
It does feel so stupid so as to feel a little conspiratorial about it. Like, when you are in last place, and Jacob's point, everyone is going to raise their prices at some point. They're going to have to. So if you're the last place company right now, why would you jump out and be the first one to do this and offer no incentive, or like anything? It's weird. It's so bad that it feels a little like, are they doing this on purpose? They can't possibly be this dumb.
Well, I mean, there is, the case that PS5 got out there and raised prices in a lot of territories other than America. I would not be surprised by the end of the year if PlayStation didn't raise the price of PS5 as well. Like, and I think, I am so curious to learn how much of it was kind of Mario Kart, that dastardly Mario Kart breaking the seal on the $80 game, because also this holiday, they say that some of their first party games are going to be $80, which is, you could read that as code for, we want to charge $80 for Call of Duty. Please don't stop us. Mario Kart can do it. Call of Duty can do it. But I'm curious to see what other holiday game from Microsoft
which is super transparent. Like everyone knows that's exactly what happened. And, I absolutely tariffs are going to raise the prices on everything. I blame the person who made the tariffs as much as anybody else. But it's like, there's an element of corporate greed to this that's coming from the biggest company that is very much like saw Nintendo do it and said, okay, we can do it now too. And like, didn't bother to look at the fallout from Nintendo doing it, or they just don't care. And it's like,
I don't think like the fallout will. I think people will just like slowly begrudgingly accept it though.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like kind of back to Jacob's point. Like, I think it'll be like people complaining on the internet for a while and then them eventually realizing, well, I kind of want this. So I guess like they'll rationalize it and be like, okay, $80 more, then I'll buy like one less game or something,
I can see that for some games. Like for Xbox, it's weird because most people will just probably pay for Game Pass instead. Yeah. And also like there's just not an incentive for the consoles in the first place. Like
it's the best place to play, but then they released the PS5 version of Indiana Jones, and it's like, yeah, but that has like a bunch of it has some extra features in there and stuff. So it's kind of like, I kind of want the DualSense when I play Indiana Jones. But so, I mean, I was talking to Jacob about this because we talked for like a week straight in Brazil, but it's looking at like the console sales. Like, remember how it was always just dunking on the Xbox One and what a complete failure their Xbox One was in comparison to PS4 and all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. I mean, at this point, if you just go from like the clock of starting the console line of when it launched, the Xbox One had sold 40 million units. And at this point with the Xbox Series X and S combined, they've sold 32 million units. So it's like the last generation, which was seen as like a disaster for Microsoft, like we're significantly behind even that line, and now we're making things more expensive and putting our games in every other system. But if there's enough faith in Game Pass, that's the long play ultimately, even though that has plateaued in a way that's, I'm sure, frustrating for all those folks.
Yeah, I feel like the real question is, when is Game Pass going to start doing the Netflix price structure and just increasing 3 times a year, just being like, hey, you're bought into this, you don't own any games for your Xbox, so if you want to keep using this as a console, now it's $25 a month.
Yeah. My kind of conspiratorial take is that like the tariffs, I mean, it's not that conspiratorial. Like the tariffs are going to hit physical media. It's going to really benefit companies that like want to, you know, sell their media in this way, because it's going to be so much harder to get physical media. And that actually like, you know, people are going to be like, well, I'm not going to buy like comic books because like, you know, the tariffs hurt this. I'm just going to do like a subscription app, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And eventually it's just like, going to lead to this like sad place where it's like, okay, then people won't own things.
Yes.
And then they'll just push the prices up once people are kind of locked. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, already, like, just speaking as someone who stocks new games in the stores, I now order maybe one per store of any Xbox release physically. People simply do not buy physical Xbox games. One per store, and sometimes that doesn't sell. Like, it is.
What about Oblivion remastered? Like,
I don't think there's a physical.
There's not even a physical. I was like,
there may be later, but I mean, anything that they like shadow drop, you know, like the physical can't come out same time, or I would know about it early, which would not be a shadow drop anymore. But yeah, I mean, like already, I don't think people own games for Xbox, and it's gonna be weird in the future. Xbox One and Series S might be like the rarest, most collectible stuff in the future because they are not selling whatsoever.
A wonder swan of the 2020s. Gather every
people
Xbox.
Bought that in Japan. People bought that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Do you remember, Leo, back in 2012 when there is a web series that was sponsored by Microsoft's Internet Explorer, the Peak browser, other than Opera GX, like the Peak browser for gamers, Internet Explorer?
Yeah, for non-gamers, it was a pretty good browser, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole series released back in 2012, and it was about the creation of a certain website called Polygon, which has grown to become one of the biggest gaming sites in the world. And last week, it was sold to Valnet, which is a company that also owns OpenCritic, Game Rant, Screen Rant, The Gamer, DualShockers, How to Geek, MovieWeb, Collider, Comic Book Resource, a bunch of stuff like that. But with that company being sold then to Valnet, it was a slaughter, not to put too fine of a point on it, of the entire staff. Like, Leo, we're still bummed out, and Jeff, and I guess everybody, but like we're still bummed out about the Game Informer layoffs from 2019, where we lost like 40% of the editorial staff, and it felt like good night, like see ya. And Anna, I mean, what percentage of folks were let go from Polygon last week?
I mean, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but only 5 people were kept on, and we were like a staff of over 20 people were laid off.
Yeah. Just brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to walk through your experience with that? Was there an inkling of anything happening, or what was it like for you?
Yeah. So this is what's kind of surprising and really sad and devastating about it, is that like it took everyone completely by surprise. I think we're not naive. We're in games, media, and journalism. Yeah. So you kind of always, at least for me personally, I always do this work with this idea of like, I'll do this until I can't do this anymore, of like this idea of like transience and like subtle instability always like in the background.
Yeah.
But as far as like game websites go, like there was never the impression that we were like that we were like threatened in any reason. I think there are like certainly challenges that we saw like internally, as far as like, okay, like we launched a redesign and that kind of like impacted the way that people like access our stories or something like that. But like even then, to the very end, like we were posting a lot, producing a lot, having like our Monster Hunter Wilds guides did like very well. Like we continued to have like editorial hits, right? And to have a readership. And so we did not expect this. And for me personally, like I woke up on Thursday, sent some news to our Slack, and was like getting ready to kind of like do some refreshes of some stories, and saw our union Slack saying that our company had been sold. And like within a minute, I had an email saying that my position had been eliminated. And then it was just like, it was like a Twitch chat, like a chaotic Twitch chat with just like messages rolling around. Like I was laid off, I was laid off, I was laid off, I was laid off, I was laid off.
Jeez.
Like it was like the saddest thing ever. And just like, so yeah, I mean, it was shocking. It was surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had it on good authority, the idea that like within Vox, that Polygon was profitable, which is pretty rare, I guess, for a site that big. There's kind of the looming threat I have to imagine that all sites are reckoning with, and IGN's, Ziff Davis is fighting for at this point of it's profitable. A lot of that traffic's coming from guides. I don't know the exact percentage of how much of Polygon's traffic was coming from guides, and with AI kind of absorbing more and more of that traffic, there was, an axe hanging over the head of almost every gaming site, with AI kind of taking the summaries of the guides, which is a huge component of traffic for those sites that are still out there. It's just like that axe is in full swing at this point. And last week, it got Polygon and kind of sort of Giant Bomb in a different sort of way, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like Vox did describe us as being like publicly being profitable, right?
Okay.
And within Vox, we were a very lean team. Like we were large as far as like games media goes these days, right? But like as far as, compared to the resources that like other Vox media properties get, like you say, like The Verge, New York Magazine, even Vox.com, these kinds of places, like we were so much smaller. And we knew like we, put numbers on the board. And so it's definitely sad. Like there's definitely this feeling of like, we did everything right and you still can't, be held. Cause that's right. That's the sadness of this is like, you don't own this site. You don't own this content. You enter an employment contract. You send this and your CEO can be approached by someone and just like decide to sell you, right?
Yeah, way above everybody else's head. Like what I saw, Chris Grant, who was the founder of this whole thing, where he said, quote, talking about Valnet, he said, their press release proudly calls Polygon a premium gaming publication, but Valnet literally refused to meet with me or answer a single question of mine throughout this process. They were wildly incurious about how a gaming publication even becomes premium, which is something, Polygon's been trying to push since the beginning. What was the wording again, Jacob? They called it...
Oh, they're going to hire AAA writers.
I am AA, so I was not kept.
Oh, I'm so
it's
sorry.
Like name a AAA writer in the gaming industry that hasn't been laid off from Polygon.com.
Yeah, no, it is true. They've just been an amazing source of talent since their founding. And I was going back and watching that Press Reset documentary that they made in 2012, sponsored by Internet Explorer, if you don't recall. And it's I love that documentary for just, it's a specific time and a specific place. But if you want to watch a documentary about making a site in 2012 and a lot of big all hands on meetings where they debate whether or not to allow the Oxford comma to be used on Polygon.com. It's like, God, this just wouldn't exist these days, just to have this level of funding and this much of an effort. And yeah, I don't know. Does anybody else have fond memories of the early days of Polygon? Because like within Game Informer, Jeff, I don't know if you remember this, but it was like, we got our first whispers because Phil Kohler, controversy noted, who was at Game Informer at the time, and he was like, hey, I'm leaving because they're going to be building up a new site and I'm going to be the deputy reviews editor over there. So it's kind of like this inside track to be like, okay, let's see how this other site does. And then it ends up becoming, second behind IGN for like the biggest gaming site? Like it's just had an incredible journey since it launched. But yeah, anybody else have thoughts on the launch of Polygon or kind of the arc of Polygon here?
I mean, obviously, like they paved the way. Their video specifically has, of course, always been my niche, my wheelhouse for the Polygon stuff I pay most attention to. They paved the way for being a bit outside of the typical way you would play the game on YouTube as an outlet like that, of doing the guides and the previews and the reviews. Yeah. Focusing on that, or just straight up gameplay or whatever. They brought so much creativity to it and so much just an undeniable headline that you had to click on and find out. They had so much great talent for that. And I think that, not in a way where I was like, look at Polygon, they can do it, why don't we do it? But at Game Informer, I think being allowed to fly freer, it's like they showed the template for why that's worthwhile, why that's not just as worthwhile of a way to do it, but a way that to be even more successful, to be more creative and get more rewarded because people respond to that, just the freedom to do that. I applied to Polygon before I applied to Game Informer.
Oh, nice.
I remember making a reel for that. I loved Polygon.
Yeah, I had a vague memory of like, wait, I applied for Polygon. And I was digging through and it was like in 2016, I applied to be like their executive producer of video over there, which I did not get the job, and that's correct. But it was like, oh yeah, I went and reread my cover letter for Polygon. So everyone was scrambling to get in there, and Anna was lucky enough to get there as an intern and then full time there for years and years.
Yeah.
And Leo, I think what you were saying about the video is true for the articles there too, because I was, I mean, I like their videos too, but I was definitely more of a reader. And even back in those early days, I mean, I don't think I was like a super savvy consumer yet in like 2012, 2013, but you know, there was like, I remember one of the early ones was just like an article from Chris Plant about like, the founder of Fangamer and how Reed Young and how he like had an Earthbound fan site and how that just created this whole career and his marriage and all these things. And it's like, it was just these very like human stories that I didn't see from a lot of outlets at the time. Again, wasn't the savviest consumer possible. Other places were doing it, but it was the first place where I was like, they're doing like some more interesting game reporting that's not just talking about the games, but talking about kind of the culture around it and what it builds.
No, it's the kind of stuff that I would kill to have in the game. You know, it's like you can name like 2 YouTube channels who kind of do it, but like, you know, our friend, my podcast co-host Blake Hester, if you just go back and like look at Blake Hester's author page on Polygon.com, it was like the kind of journalism that like, and I say this with no disrespect to any other games writers, but like what we think of as like real journalists did, which was like flying to Colombia to talk to the Rockstar co-founder, or like going on a road trip and meeting with like 13 different indie developers, or, you know, like doing all this stuff where it's like you would go and do things and it was about the people, and the focus of the article wasn't, and this game will be available in 3 months and you can buy it on Xbox and PlayStation. You know, it was like, this is telling the story of people making games. And like, you know, I think Blake will say that was a lot working with like Matt Leone, who is also really focused on telling those kind of like human stories. And it's just kind of like the idea of games being like a grown-up industry wrote about by serious people is something that I feel like games writers have been trying to do for decades and still feels kind of impossible. And then there were like 6 years where Polygon was doing that sort of thing. And it was like so amazing to see it, and so sad to seemingly get the definitive answer of like, nope, we're not going to fund that kind of thing anymore.
Yeah, Jacob. And to that point too, like I think something I really, really appreciated about working there, and something that really formed me, especially as like an earlier career journalist. And I think part of the reason why I ended up there was because like I really appreciated this attitude from the staff, is like, okay, like we are journalists first. Like we're not part of the games industry. We're journalists. We cover games, like rather than being like we are games journalists or like we are games writer, you know, like this distinction of being like we are, you know, like part of a larger media that's like aligned with, you know, The Verge, Vox.com, you know, list any other kind of reputable like news site, right? Like that Wikipedia would like rank as like a fact-checked credible source, right? And so I feel like I'm so appreciative, like even just like having people show me that and teach me that was like, I don't know, so formative to me, and I think really helped shape the work that we did.
Yeah, I mean, talking about just kind of the angles they were taking, I remember before the launch of the Xbox One, like a handful of us were invited to Microsoft's campus, and this was part of like Game Informer's cover story on Titanfall that we all kind of wrapped together for like the big Xbox One kind of unveiling thing. And it was just like a select group that got to see the Xbox One before it was announced. And like Jeff Keighley was there on 3 phones at once, texting all his cool friends, and Matt Leone was there. And I remember talking to Matt Leone because I'm a big fan of 1UP and stuff, so I was talking about all that. And meanwhile, they're like talking about the Xbox, and I'm like sketching it because it's like they unveiled it on the stage on this little platform in front of me. Like, I need to write down like the HDMI ports in the back and how it's all laid out because we're not gonna have reference for it and all this stuff. And he was just so chill. And I remember him being like, yeah, I might like mention this, but I'm just writing a big feature for Polygon that's about the development of Rise, Son of Rome. So the unveiling of the new Xbox, it might get like a couple sentences within my feature about Rise, Son of Rome. Like what world is Polygon working in? And the answer was a classier one, I suppose. Not frantic.
Yeah. But like to that end too, I think something that I hope doesn't get lost is like there was like, you know, I feel like people did have very different experiences, right? Like I think that, you know, I have pretty much been like on news and like pumping out a lot of content like every single week, right? And so it's like definitely not as bad as other sites, and I'm so grateful to be there. But it's kind of interesting to hear like these different eras of this website, right? Because like by the time that I had gotten there, like the ability to do work like that was like so much more limited and like wasn't necessarily something that was like accessible to me, right? But I am still like obviously so glad was able to happen. But it's kind of like interesting to kind of like compare experiences, because for me it's been like so much, you know, trend tracing and like doing it in a really responsible and smart way that like I'm so lucky my editors always supported me in like covering those things and figuring out a way that like made sense to me, you know, and that's the kind of thing that like other sites won't offer writers. But it's so interesting, right? Like now, even as someone who worked there, to kind of like see these different sides of it and like reflect on it.
Yeah, it's a full spectrum. Yeah. Jeff, what does the world look like without traditional games media? Because clearly that's where we're nosediving into.
Yeah, it's like when I was reading about all of this, I read, you know, some Reddit forum discussions and stuff, and that was more depressing than the actual news of the closures, because there were people in there who were just like, we don't need it anyway because we can just get the information straight from the publishers, and so we can just cut out the middleman.
Great
and
press
it's like
releases, woohoo!
Yes, we can just get that directly, and it's like games journalism has already been so decimated that there's like generations of people growing up that don't realize what they're missing in the first place. That it's not just you're just copying a press release or something. It's like putting in actual thought and criticism and holding people accountable and all of these things that you're not going to get anymore. Like that's just going to disappear. And yeah, it's going to be Nintendo Directs where they don't tell you the fucking price in the first place. And it's like, and there's not going to be the follow up until like someone finds it and it like spills out into social media. And like, if you think a tweet about it is as good as a like thoughtful interview or like an opinion piece, like that's what's going to be missing. And I'm afraid that like people already don't realize, like they're not even going to know enough to miss it. They're not going to know how good it was that they don't have that anymore.
And obviously there's great, you know, reporting on YouTube. It's not that clear dividing line of like everyone with games media is good and the YouTubers are bad. Like Jacob, you in particular you're kind of straddling several continents, and I'm curious like your perspective on all this.
I like being on YouTube, but like I am the first to say like nothing that I do is a replacement for what Polygon was doing. Yeah. And even the more like news focused YouTubers are there are some good ones out there, but like it's not, you know, for all of the like million ethical slings that were thrown at games media, it's like YouTubers don't know what being a journalist means. They don't have like a code of ethics. From my perspective, the vast majority of YouTube news channels are basically reading the press release to you. You know, that it is just kind of like it's another arm of the publisher, and publishers view YouTubers and streamers and influencers as much easier to control than people in traditional press, which is why they have like turned to them so much, you know, that it's like, why would we talk to a journalist who will ask questions about what we're doing when we could just give it to like a 20-year-old sitting in his office who will regurgitate it because he's so happy to be getting a story.
Yeah. And to that end, like, I think that, you know, like games journalism, like you want someone who is contextualizing that press release is following up on questions, who's been like doing this for a while. Like I felt like I learned so much, like Mike McWhirter, who's been like doing this for forever.
Yeah.
Like really, like when I was like earlier on in the career telling me like, okay, like just because they say something like doesn't mean that that's like what it is. And so like it's really important to make that distinguish that in this article, because we know from X, Y, and Z, this company has a tendency to do this, and like I just think about like losing that kind of work, and it just makes me so sad. Like
what do you do when the audience isn't there? And like I said, Polygon was profitable. There were still people clicking on those stories, right? But so clearly people are going to YouTube, going to TikTok, going to Instagram, and not checking out these sites as much as they were. And so no doubt, especially when we get to Giant Bomb, no doubt there are an infinite amount of middlemen executive heads that don't know anything. However, to take their side for a second, what do you do at the same time to like keep these sites around when there's no profitable path to make it happen?
I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, how do we reach new audiences? I, have been a games journalist for a while now. And like the two young people in my life, like little cousin, my little brother, like they're, 21 and 19. They've never read Polygon.
Right.
They don't know what games journalism is.
Right.
And so I think for me, like maybe the way that I think about it, a step of this is thinking through like, and this is an issue for media at large. Like Polygon we were really cool because we weren't just interesting because we covered games as journalists. We also were like a relevant news site to like younger audiences. Like the New York Times, like they don't have the same age audience as Polygon, right? Like our age audience, from what I understood, was like very, very rare in media and very cool because of what of what we covered. And so, but even then, right, like we still had trouble reaching people. And I think for me, that's something that I think about a lot is like, okay, like maybe there definitely needs to be some changes, right, in how we talk to people. And I don't know. I try to be optimistic and be like, people don't want to read, but I don't think it's that simple.
Yeah, but it is like, well, how do book publishers adjust to generations that are functionally illiterate? Like, I don't know, man. We should address that problem.
Yeah. That's the thing, is you really can follow this down like a toilet bowl doom spiral of like
You simply have to do all your hard-hitting reporting on TikTok now in 10-second pieces. That's it. That's all people have an appetite for.
Like the upsetting part to me isn't that, like, it's not the business model failing that's upsetting. It's the audience isn't there or doesn't understand the value of it in the first place.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's a solution to that other than like send out a virus to everyone's phone so that they explode and they have to go back to reading newspapers or something. But it's like, but we can still be upset that like that's the way that it's going. And it's like I remember when Game Informer got shut down, one of the news videos that like made the rounds was someone reacting to a video of someone reacting to another video of someone reading an article from like one of the last remaining. It was probably Polygon or something, explaining it, and it's like, and it's fine for an audience to say like, oh well, I can get it from video, but they don't like there's a disconnect of like the source of what they're sourcing is an actual person who did the work in the first place. And it's like, you're not going to realize these things until it's gone in the first place, or you're not going to realize or appreciate it at all.
Yeah. The
other thing on the Reddit that got me all triggered and had me up all night is that like people were like, well, yeah, I'm glad they're gone because of like their politics, and I don't need a person with blue hair in San Francisco telling me what to think. And it's like the articles that they point to, like, I don't agree with every article that I read, but at some point it's like, don't you want other information entering your like landscape of the things that you read and the things, and it's okay to disagree with it, but at least it's broadening your perspective. And it's like, if you're like have social media algorithms warped us all to the point where we view other opinions as like invasive and like a threat to us. Yeah. And it's just like, that's the kind of thing that we're going to lose. Like, you don't have to agree with everything that Polygon posted, but like you can appreciate it as just another opinion. And like, there have been plenty of people throughout our industry that like if you go back and look at what journalism was 30 years ago, there are plenty of people who didn't agree with all of the, hey, here are all these hot booth babes, and like, and it didn't mean that we had to burn everything down and close every site, you know, like we can have a broader, or we used to be able to have a broader, more diverse perspective of opinions, and like you could see something that you didn't agree with and just disagree with it and appreciate that they're still like offering you different opinions. And that
no, that's bias.
That's interesting.
I want a nice unbiased press release that's being objective about how epic this game is.
I saw that thread as well, Jeff. And I think honestly the issue there is the media illiteracy has gotten so bad that those people don't know what an op-ed is.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
genuinely have never heard of that, and they just think this is news.
Yeah.
And this news
This
has
isn't true.
an opinion in it. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, there's different classifications for things that get posted on sites like this, and you're confusing op-eds with news.
Yeah.
That's on you, bud. And that they just don't even know that that's a thing that they're confusing, and they're happy to not know that.
On the profitability thing, it's with when Polygon was profitable, I think that should be remembered for sure, because I think tons of distractions as we talk about, tons of things that actually matter at this. And I think something that of course does really matter is treating the talent well, and not only not pissing them off and not straight up ejecting them from the company that you want to do well, but like, I can't speak for anyone's experience besides ours in Game Informer's previous iteration, but it's like we had tons of ideas that we were not supported in doing in any way. We had tons of ways we wanted to modernize, tons of ways we wanted to keep up with what was going on in a different way that simply were not allowed to happen because someone at some chain in the command did not want to sign off on it.
Yeah.
And that's, and I would be very surprised if we're the only people struggling with that.
No, I mean, I don't know if you listened to the latest episode of Jeff Gersman's podcast, but, you know, the first 40 minutes or so is him just kind of unpacking the quote unquote death of Giant Bomb, the deadly blow to Giant Bomb here that's been dealt. And it's just, I love hearing his perspective on several fronts, but one of them is you can feel the weight of an entire career of just arguing with stupid executives. And you can feel how much sleep that he's lost with this idea of like, no, I was pushing for this and they didn't understand what a podcast was and how to monetize it this way. And yeah, I posted on Blue Sky, but I mean, that was tastes of that at Game Informer. I do think we had it very, very good. We were so insulated from most of the nonsense at GameStop, you know, but just like,
for sure, but in a way that kept us stagnant rather than like
that's
supported and growing in a way that, you know, to keep up.
Right.
Grow.
You know, like I posted on Blue Sky, but just like, that moment where I was talking to our associate publisher there, he was like the head of sales, and he's like, oh no, we can't monetize the Game Informer show until it hits 500,000 downloads per episode. I was like, that's not how podcasts work. He's like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I'm like, all right, your career is sales, so I can't argue with you. But like, I listen to other podcasts that don't have downloads of 500,000. He's like, that's what it is. Those are the numbers we need to hit before we can have those discussions. So it's like, I guess when he's used to working with like a magazine with a circulation of 8 million, I guess that's his frame of reference. But like, this is your job, is to stay on top of this shit, and you're not doing it.
So often I see other people who have a lot of experience in different forms of media coming into games and trying to shove the industry standards of those types of media into games. And I have to come in and be like, that doesn't work. Like, we'll get an agreement from somebody and it's like, here's our publishing agreement. It's meant for a movie. And it's trash. It's perfect for a movie.
Right.
Works great.
Right.
But then I look at it, I'm like, you realize that none of this even makes sense because games aren't movies and they have a whole different way that they get made and they're a whole different type of media. So then we have to throw away the whole thing. And then the person gets all offended. It goes, I've used that template. I had this person go, I've used that template for 10 years. I've never had anyone come back and say it wasn't good. And I was like, was it only for movies that you used the template? No answer. Because you're trying to use it in games, you idiot. Of course it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyways.
it's the story again and again of like people who make decisions about companies are bad at their jobs and they don't pay. The people who pay are like the writers who were doing exactly what was asked of them well.
Right.
You know, that it's like there was nothing about Polygon's like output with its staff that was like lacking what it should have been. It was like, I mean, in this case, it didn't even seem like it was like boneheaded corporate maneuvers. It was just someone rolled up with a big wheelbarrow of cash and they were like, yeah, I guess we don't need any of these people.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Bye.
And when we talk about like the profitability and like how are we going to make it profitable, we're also dealing with a landscape where media keeps getting bought up more and more by corporations. And so the profitability that we have to hit isn't break even or make a small profit. It's like, how do we maximize this? It's not going to matter, to Anna's point of like Polygon being profitable. Well, yeah, that's nice, but like, can you still be more profitable with a quarter of the staff and doing just the guides? That is what everybody hits. And it's like, there's just like the industry doesn't value the work in the first place. And so like the numbers that they want to see are always just going to go up and up and up anyway, just with like video game sales in general and like so many other things. Like you can't fix a problem when it always has to be making more money in the first place anyway.
Which is why
I want a little peek into corporate law to why it feels that way and how it works that way is because the shareholders appoint the directors. So every financial quarter, when the shareholders need to be very happy so that the directors get to keep their job, that's when they're firing people. That's when they're, doing all these crazy things so that number go up really fast. So then when the shareholders have their meeting, they go, oh, looks John good. Is great. Let's keep him on the board. And then John doesn't give a crap about next, he's got another 4 months to try to make number go up again really fast at the very end of the quarter again. Like truly, it's just like a centric thing where directors are just trying to make it to the next shareholders meeting so they get appointed again. And God, who cares about the company? It's completely individualistic approach to running a corporation.
Yeah. There's a really good article on Defector yesterday called "The Money is in All the Wrong Places" that was about it was basically about just like artists today don't have the avenues of artists before, and talking about how like you can tell in Hollywood who's a nepo baby and who's not. And like Sydney Sweeney is like one of the most, castable actors in the world right now, and says that she can't take 6 months off because like her family wasn't rich before that. But there's this part in it where they say that in 1936, Ernest Hemingway was paid $1 a word for his writing. In 1930s, like not adjusted for inflation.
$1 a word?
I don't hear that. Don't say that.
Which is like, that is more than writers are paid in raw dollars now. If it was adjusted for inflation, he would have been making $21 a word. And it's like, sure, maybe no one working today is as good as Ernest Hemingway, but like, maybe we could be paid 1/20th of the amount that he was paid for.
Or maybe we would get more Ernest Hemingways if we paid people fairly.
Right, if they were allowed to have a career in this.
Although, why is his signature thing being so concise then? Like, he should have had less punchy sentences.
Because he didn't have to artificially stretch it out then.
Oh, I see. I get it now. I mean, there is the kind of the bigger picture thing of thinking about like, God, with so many different sites going down, people branching off, obviously potential Patreon, platforms launching and stuff like that. I was thinking like, God, dude, is the move kind of like the way that all these streaming services are out there, and if they could just be bundled all together and call it cable, you could just pay for it again cleanly? It's like, is there the equivalent of that with kind of games press of like bundling a bunch of folks together? And I realized like, oh, that's kind of what MinnMax already is. I guess we're kind of like a ragtag group of like scattered people already kind of bundled that way. But like, I don't know. I know you all don't need to think about it as much as I do, but like, does the collapse of these other sites, do you think, change what MinnMax should be doing? Does it change what we need to be doing as an outlet to keep something alive, other than hopefully always making it worth it for the folks who support us and pushing to do things that the average YouTube channel can't do, trying to lean into our connections a little bit through interviews, studio visits, all that type of thing? But
well, that's another thing where like there was a Resetera thread about a comment that you made. I think it was a tweet that you did about one of your interviews that got picked up everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you had said like, hey, like we made basically nothing from the YouTube video. So if you want this kind of content, you should subscribe. And and people, I think in the thread, they were like, uh-oh, is MinnMax in trouble? Like, do they need money? Is there, and then they started analyzing our model and was like, well, it's like an hour and a half interview video. Like, nobody's going to want to watch that. I feel like we already have a mix of the best thing that we can do is do the kind of content that we want to do, that we consider to be good content.
Yeah.
While still remaining sustainable. But it's another example of like, that slippery slide of like, and then everyone in the comments is saying like, well, you know, like they should clip it out and just have like 2-minute videos that they can put on TikTok, and then other people won't take the hit. And it's like, you're just telling us to make content in order to make more like that.
Yeah.
Like
also, that would drive me nuts because I was like, I technically did that. I have clips on
You
TikTok.
did. You made the
and
clips.
I made
Yes.
excerpts that were shorter on YouTube of the highlights, and still, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm not bitter about it.
Well, and this is like the unique woe of like being in games media, right? Is there's a bunch of people for some reason think they know what your job is and how to do your job and like the best way to do your job, and with like zero understanding of what this line of work is like, right? Like the challenges that come with it, the real work that goes into it. It's just like, why didn't you think of doing it like this? And you're just like, actually, if you go here, we've been doing it like that.
We've been trying. Yeah, we've been trying to make numbers work.
This will probably be saved for the extended travelogue, so sign up for MinnMax at the $10 tier. But Ben and I had a conversation in Brazil with someone who is not from Brazil, who was like maybe the most corporately evil man I've ever spoken to.
100%.
Who was just like, the problem with YouTube channels is they have personalities. And he was like, we own over 100 YouTube channels. They have 100 billion views. And like, here's the thing. No, there's not allowed to be anyone on them. And it was just kind of like, if you tie your YouTube channel to a person, then that person might get too big and leave. So what we do is we don't have any people or personality in our video. And those were like the tips he was giving us on how to make MinnMax bigger.
He was amazing. Where somehow we just got into a circle at a mixer talking to him down in some Heinekens, and like Jacob tapped out after like 10 minutes of talking to Satan himself, and I was like, how far does this rabbit hole go? I will talk to this guy all night, because he was just like flat Austrian Satan. Like literally he's like, well, the secret, what you have to do is you recycle content. So what we do is we look at content that's popular on other channels, and then we say, hey, give us your entire YouTube channel. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel, and we'll give you 50% of the revenue. And he's like, and everyone takes the deal. Of course you take that deal. And then you post it on Facebook, and you just recycle all this content back and forth from 7 years ago, and no one can tell. I'm like, doesn't that dilute your channel's brand? He's like, you don't want a brand for your channel. That implies a personality, which you cannot have. You just need to crunch the numbers, and eventually you will make money. There was
an amazing thing where we had met a different super friendly, like very nice guy earlier in the convention, and he entered into the circle at some point. And then we all kind of separated, and then we saw him individually later, and he was like, was that guy a friend of yours? And we were like, no.
No, we were interviewing Satan. Yeah. But everybody check out the Crayola Creates YouTube channel. This guy's really proud of it. It's the offshoot of the main Crayola YouTube channel. It's turning out. I literally was scrubbing through it to be like, isn't this a personality? There's a person's face on there. He's like, no. There's no personality with that person's face. They're incidental to the video. It's like, oh, okay.
I do the same thing, Ben. When I meet somebody like that, I'm like, oh, you're just the worst. Yeah. I like go behind enemy lines and try to learn more about them. It's like kind of fun. You're like, so tell me more about that. Wow, cool. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I hate you.
Really gonna charm him.
I went to a free NFT party at GDC one year for that same reason. I was like, I just want to talk to these freaks and get free drinks. But like they were weird. They all just, I mean, it's the same talking points. They're like, and then the gun from this game, you can put it in any game. And like, but it's fun talking to freaks. I don't know.
What's cool about it is the money that is generated.
Those aren't even the fun freaks. Like, show me the real freaks.
Reveal your real freaks. Speaking of real freaks, Fandom, everybody. This company that owned Giant Bomb and GameSpot. That's just a bizarre situation of several people have been let go from Giant Bomb. It's very much in a chaotic state, and I understand the huge community for Giant Bomb is in a tizzy of like, can you tell us anything? What's happening? Are these shows ever coming back? Was that the last episode of the Bombcast that was taken down by Fandom because it was a little bit cheeky? There was a jab or two at Fandom in that video. So Fandom,
were they taking inspiration from the guy you talked to in Brazil?
Could be. Yeah, could be. Yeah, start recycling GameSpot's content from 6 years ago and put it on Giant Bomb's current YouTube channel. That's the future, baby. But yeah, Leo, I don't know. You go way back with Giant Bomb. I don't know how you're processing where they're at right now.
I am still. I was hoping to be further informed by this conversation. What's exactly going on?
Yeah,
It is
So valid.
It's it not being formally done, but feeling like it's hard to picture it being around.
right. I mean, Gersman in the podcast, he's like, it's 100%. It'll never work. It can't work with middle managers and these executives in there who don't understand what it is at any level, and they're just getting a huge paycheck to try and keep this thing rolling. But then they look at, well, we have GameSpot, who also could use a boost. And shout out to those folks at GameSpot, still there, holding down the fort. Good Lord, they need some support and love. But from the executive level, trying to balance those two brands is very challenging. And, it's been interesting to see like, oh, Death of Giant Bomb, and everyone kind of posting their favorite clips and stuff from Giant Bomb's history, which is lovely to see. I'm a huge fan going way back, obviously. But, seeing all these clips of like, oh, here's Brad and Gersman and Patrick Klepek and all this stuff. And it's like, it almost feels antithetical to what Giant Bomb is, where it's like, no, it's about the people and the personalities, not the brand. And when all those people have already left, it just feels like a weird time to celebrate them, where it's like, we should celebrate the good work that the team has been doing over there over the last couple of years, kind of like the last crew holding down the fort there at Giant Bomb. But yeah, the brand's kind of moot at this point. Like, the point is the people, and so many of those people have moved on that it's, I don't know, everyone's kind of celebrating it and mourning it in a different kind of way. But we'll see what happens. I don't know if you've heard this one before, but never count Dan Reichert out when it comes to
I heard he's stepping back from the limelight.
We did an interview years ago at MinnMax where that was his pitch, where when he's going to go work at WWE, like, I don't want to be the center of attention anymore. And then he lasted a year and was like, it's me! Da, 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 da.
Not how much he did want it.
That's right. But no, shout out to that team, obviously, and curious to see where they go from here. It'll be a fascinating watch, I promise you that. But yes, in terms of MinnMax, we're happy with their level of support. We can't thank everybody enough for creating a little pocket, a little island of sustainability. And yeah, we're doing our best to build it in a healthy, sustainable way. We don't want to take too big of a swing and have this whole thing crumble down. So greatly appreciate everybody.
Do you find it kind of odd that in all the conversations around all this stuff and happening, it kind of feels like all these things keep happening and bad stuff happens, and more eyes start shifting towards MinnMax as like one of the only survivors in a weird way. Like, I keep seeing the word MinnMax show up in all these Reddit threads as people talking about it and stuff like that. And it's just kind of weird that that's happening. It makes me feel weird.
Yes, I've complicated emotions about it. It's flattering on one hand. On the other hand, I want to make it really clear of like what our model is, right? Where it's like, I'm the only person full time, and then we contract out with 8 other people. And, we could have the strategy of having, 2 people full time, 2.5 people full time. Like, that's a different approach. But with our current model, it's like, I get annoyed, I guess, by the people who are like, oh, just go to Patreon. It's a piece of cake. Look, MinnMax has a big crew and it's totally funded. Done and done. It's like, no, if you look into it, it's like we have a very specific structure for how to make this work. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you're listening to this or watching this, if you want to talk about the structure and see if that's a good fit for you, if you want to go independent as well, if you're at a big site. But it is like, it's such a specific case that I want more people to follow that model, but I don't want people to think that like, if you go on Patreon, it's a piece of cake to support 9 people full time, because that's not what's happening here. Even though
I don't live on the MinnMax salary. That's my fun money.
Right, going right up the nose. Let's see.
That's why our content's so good.
It's amazing.
That is the vibes of Pew Pew Bang, I guess. So.
Oh boy, I'm very curious for you all to go to SGF this year. Like, I forget if it was in Bonus Pod or in the main show, but with Summer Game Fest, it freaked me out when I went. And I'm sure we talked about it somewhere, but just it feels like it's a great event. They do a great job putting it on every year. At the same time, there's something that freaks me out about attending, because it feels like this is an old folks home, like a little sanctuary old folks home, where just everyone is slowly fading out of existence and no one's acknowledging that there's no money underpinning this entire industry anymore. Like, it is this weird feeling. I want to grab everybody by the shoulders and be like, how long does your site have? Like, are you financially stable? What is happening here? What is a model to keep this around anyway? And I don't see it, and it's scary. But that's my picadillo.
It's weird. It's like, I'm sure it's a lot of people's also side things that it's like, oh great, I get to go to an event for my blog. And the gigification of this.
Yep.
industry.
Yeah.
It's very
It's a
strange.
lot of people paying for their own travel to go to these events and stuff, preview events. You just talk to more and more people who are like, well, I get freelance rates and they suck, but I pay for the travel because it's a cool opportunity. And it's like, yeah, it's a cool opportunity, but there's a lot of smoke and mirrors for sustainability, I think, in the game industry space. And so, yeah, shout out to the folks hanging on,
Gigs
doing
become
their
those
best.
people's vacation for that year, which is
Yeah.
really sad because you're still working.
Right.
Yeah.
Haley, as a video game IP lawyer, can you shed some light on the actual state of the games in the game industry? Like, there's too much going on that's diabolical. But I mean, in the big scheme of things, EA just had a ton of layoffs. Respawn had a ton of layoffs. Dear friend Cyril Vasquez, former cohort, was just laid off writing job. Feel free to reach out to him if you have writing opportunities or opportunities for what's it called? Consulting. That's what I'm looking for.
Narrative design. Oh,
Narrative design and consulting, all that fun stuff. But Haley, yeah, you write a ton of publisher agreements. Would you agree that that's kind of your main bag, baby?
That's my bag, baby. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
I write like 2 or 3 a week at this point. It's like almost all I do now.
geez. And so you had like a big summary that you prepared with your law firm. And like, can you shed any light just on how things are shifting for the agreements in the game industry that developers are actually making here?
Yeah, so we did a huge data report, and feel free to interrupt me at any time because I don't want to ramble and just like talk about data for 10 minutes. But the question that kept popping up that my boss, Kellen, who runs the firm I work at, Voya Law, we kept getting was, we can draft the agreement, we can make sure that it says what we need to say, but the question always was, is this a good deal or not? And like indie devs are unfortunately really not having access to information because all these agreements are confidential, which is normal for agreements. That's not unique to the industry, but all these things are confidential. So unless you just have like a tight knit Slack or something with a bunch of devs sharing all their intimate details about their agreements and technically breaching their agreements, but they don't really know like what percentage of rev shares fair, how big in advance they should be owed and all that kind of stuff. And then Kel and I were like, well, we have like 100+ agreements sitting here with all the data in them. So we essentially, it took forever, but we anonymized all the data, took all the data out of the publishing agreement templates. And these, we only use agreements that have been signed, executed, and like the intention was to make the game thereafter. Sometimes it fizzles, whatever, but these are not just templates that got thrown around. Like, these were signed agreements between all the parties, stripped all the data out of that, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and then just outputted like the most important stuff. And so now whenever we get a developer who's like, is this a good deal? We can just point them towards this data set now and say, here's the industry average based on all the agreements that we have access to, which our firm, we're realizing when we talk to other video game lawyers, is like, we have a lot of data, which, a lot of other firms aren't really focusing on the publishing agreement review side. So we're in a very lucky position where we can just kind of say, this is what we see. We don't know how completely accurate it is, right? Because it's still a data subset that, could be different depending on jurisdiction, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's been extremely helpful. And the devs that we talk to, and even ones that we've gotten so much work out of it, people were talking about it at GDC at a time, which was really nice. I was bringing it up to devs and they were like talking to me and they're like, oh, I saw one game lawyer do something with data or whatever. I was like, oh, that was me. And they're like, oh my God, It's like very fun that it's like seeping around and stuff, but it's at indiegamepublishing.com. And if you just type that into Google, it's just like a nice little easy to read thing that's, we try to make it as simple as possible. But what we're finding, if you want spend your time looking at the data, if you'd like, average dev rev share for games with an advance is 58.2%. I'm sure you don't want to just hear me read those percentages out loud.
I'm kind of curious about all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But, overarching, well, if you take a step back from the data and think about it, we have information dating back to about 2017. Deals are remaining substantially the same in terms of the rates, like the amount of advances people are getting, the rev share cuts they're getting, if they own the IP or not at the end of the day, which we always push for, that they should own the IP, all those kind of things. They're staying the same. There's just way less of them, which is really interesting to me, honestly, personally. So it's not that, devs are getting worse deals. It's just that it's harder to get them, which I think is useful information for a dev going into a publishing situation. Is not that the market's so crappy right now, so I'll take that really bad rev share deal. It's no, if you have it locked down and you're moving forward with negotiations and now you're signing it, keep fighting for that, because that's the industry standard. It's just that you're the lucky few who have the project that the publishers actually want to work with, essentially. That's probably the biggest thing we could take from the data we took out there.
Yeah. You said you were talking about in the Monday meeting how more and more developers are working together and cutting out publishers and publisher deals entirely. Is this your new obsession?
Yeah, I love it. And the devs are coming to me with these ideas and I go, yippee, I'll draft that. That sounds great. It's just, I can't really talk about it because these are all projects that are getting worked on right now, but it's kind of a scale of, I saw some instances of one dev spent 5 years making this really unique game engine that does something really specific in a genre. And this other dev wants to make this game and they have a really cool idea. So dev A licenses their game engine to dev B and then they get a percentage of revenue for the game at the end. Dev B gets to save 3, 4 something years on development. So then they don't need an advance from a publisher. They can just work on it for 1 to 2 years.
Right.
No publisher, have way more revenue even with the rev share split with Dev A, and then Dev A gets that money coming in to fund their next game. And then the two indies are like kissing and in love and they make their games and nobody gets abused. And it's like really nice.
Like Jason and Lucia.
Yeah. And, and the other thing is as well, seeing more and more companies that have success. And I'm going to point to Outer Sloth because I think what they're doing is super interesting. And this, don't go sign an agreement without a lawyer signing it. I'm just take this with a grain of salt, but I really I've seen Outer Sloth's agreement quite a few times now, and I like what they're doing.
And this is developers of Among Us who are publishing games now.
They got the Among Us money, and now they're coming out here and they're like, they're
I'm so sorry, it's not actually, is what you're saying.
But yeah, I like that kind of trend where it's developers who found success that are now turning and they're offering unique deals to other game developers. And it's just exciting to see that. Please get your agreement reviewed. Don't just, if you get a deal, sign it. Anyways, legal information only, not advice.
Okay, so to see all the stats for this big breakdown, it's indiegamepublishing.com. And it'll be in the description there.
It took
That's
so
gonna
long.
help so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just behind the scenes stuff that people wouldn't get access to. Like, they can just quickly look at this and be like, am I getting a bum deal or not? Let's see.
Right.
Yeah. Helpful.
So average advance is $674,000. The median advance, now Leo obviously knows the difference between average and median. This is elementary, but that is $300,000 apparently. Okay.
Do you want me to explain
that? No, I don't want to be embarrassed on the podcast.
I'm a sociology major. Let me do it.
But okay, so Dev owns the IP.
Yeah.
Wait, is 96% of the time?
Yep. They should own the IP. They should maintain full ownership of the IP at every step of the process. But there are certain instances where the publisher says, assign the IP to us, we own it. You only get it back if we breach the agreement, is sometimes what I see. And I always go, nope, stop that.
Is it just
And it makes
That
sense
is an
that without an
encouragingly
advance,
high number.
Yeah, that's shockingly high.
Yeah.
without an advance, it's 100%, which makes sense because what's the point of taking a deal if you're not?
Right. I understand that math,
exactly.
for sure. So is it just that maybe we're used to AAA games and we're so used to the idea of, like, obviously publishers always own the IP, what are you going to do? But just this is just in the indie world?
Indie. These are only indie agreements. Like, we've seen a couple, like, AA, barely, right? Like, this is almost entirely indie game publishing agreements here.
Wow, that's impressive.
Meaning solo devs or what size teams? Typically?
A lot of solo devs, a lot of two-people teams. Probably the most I see in a team is like where they're actually involved with the company, like they're a director, shareholder of the corporation working, is probably like 5. And then, but sometimes they'll have really big teams, but there's like one solo dev with a bunch of contractors who all get they'll do like internal rev share splits or something like that. Like that can be like an internal incentive model to try to keep people around and working long-term, even if they are just a contractor. But a lot of solo, and almost never is there people investing money for equity in indie game companies where they're trying to buy shares in the indie game company. It's just the rev share split. I've seen a safe, which is I've seen a safe one time for a game company, and other than that, it's just rev share. People just care about rev share splits.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Check out that link if you want to learn more about it. God, Jeff, you know what I'm craving?
A new pair of underwear from MeUndies.
How dare you? Don't even mention underwear. No, of course I'm craving human fuel, otherwise known as Huel, everybody. Gosh, I would give anything for this can of bubbly to become a big tub of Huel.
Tub.
Well, there is like a tub for like a big bunch of chocolate if you want that, but Huel,
You can pour it in your tub.
Yeah, drink it. Huel, drink it out of your tub. It'll taste better. So Huel, it's ready to drink. Meal in a bottle is the way they describe it. They've got a ton of great flavors. I don't know, you guys ever heard of something called strawberry banana? Yeah, 2 in 1. They got chocolate.
At the
they
same
got
time?
vanilla. That's right. They got coffee flavored. Huel, it's designed for like if you're in a rush, busy lifestyle. Think of like Jacob Geller in a Mentos commercial, running around the streets, right? Just need something quick to chug instead of grabbing a full lunch here. Just a quick meal in a bottle that has a ton of vitamins, a lot of protein for you, convenient, everything you want. That's where Huel comes into play. It slides right in there and you drink it and you say, with a name like Huel, I don't know what I was expecting it to taste like, but hand to God, I love the taste of Huel. I was down in this stuff left and right when I got my big batch before this promotion, to the point that I don't have any left to promote on this podcast. But
Every time we ate something in Brazil, Ben was just whispering, God, I wish this were Huel.
yeah, this is sub-Huel gruel, is how I described all Brazilian food. No, I take it back. I love the food. But new customers can visit Huel.com/MinnMax today and use the code MinnMax to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. What's the gift? Is it more Huel? You tell us. That's Huel.com/MinnMax today. Use the code MinnMax to get 50% off your first order plus that free gift. Check it out. Huel, everybody. It tastes good and it feels good and it's easy.
Did MSI mind that I said amen at the end of their ad read last week?
We got a lot of emails about it, actually. Yeah. Mother of Mary board. Hey, Haley McLean. In 2020, let me tell you a tale. In the year 2020, this developer went on Twitter, you know it as X, and they said, streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. The real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. What do you think about that take?
Can you put like a big like fart noise over in the back?
I remember the discourse for this one so strong.
It exploded. Where this was a developer who was working for Stadia at the time, and so when Alex Navarro, then at Giant Bomb, he responded saying, "Hey, how's Stadia going?"
Perfect. That's all we need to respond.
And now in retrospect, this is dark, but then the developer responded by saying, "Better than Giant Bomb, from what I can tell."
Oh
my God.
And then Stadia went down.
outlived Stadia by like 5 years.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And it has a little bit more public approval.
I think that might be the case, yeah. But the long saga then is the developer who was working on a game for Stadia, then the studio was let go from Stadia, and they were able to retain the game that they were working on, which was the follow-up to a game called Journey to the Savage Planet. And then this game was called Revenge of the Savage Planet, which just launched. We've been playing this thing, and Alex Hutchinson was the developer. Do you see how
the
it fell?
craziest way to introduce a game that, as far as I can tell, we don't have a grudge against.
No, but I was just thinking like, oh, Alex Hutchinson, the creative director for this game. Oh, that's right, Giant Bomb. This is all interconnected. The legalese of Haley. There are yarn threads here. No, I like Alex Hutchinson, even if he's a very outspoken guy at times, but he was the creative director for Assassin's Creed 3, which was the first reason to love him. But also he was a lead designer for Spore, which is awesome. And then he was the creative director for Far Cry 4, which I know Haley in particular
so awesome.
is the
And
best.
that was so awesome.
And that was so awesome. And now the follow-up, Revenge of the Savage Planet. Jeffin, do you remember talking about Journey to the Savage Planet years and years ago at MinnMax?
Do we have to pay to talk about this game now?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think that's the case.
I bought the license. Don't worry.
I think you should just stop talking right now, or you're gonna get.
Yeah, you're probably right.
This was enough.
The bills.
All good.
But Jeff, you played Journey to the Savage Planet. I remember I went back and watched our old episode of the podcast where we talked about it back in 2020, and I was like, oh, this is good. For like a comedic No Man's Sky, I'm digging it.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Is that not how you remember Journey to the Savage Planet?
I don't remember almost anything at all except when the game started. There was a lot of live action humor.
Yes.
And you said that I said the humor was good?
I think you liked it overall. I don't know if you were like, it's knee-slappingly good. But the point is, Jeff, what do you think and everybody else about Revenge of the Savage Planet?
No, No, I want to know. I want to know what Jeff thought he said. What did you think you said back then?
I would have assumed that I said the game is fun and I can't stand these videos.
That could be.
And they freak me out.
That could be.
Very Tim and Eric humor.
Gross out
Yes.
style stuff.
Yeah. I've enjoyed what I've played so far of it. Leo? Leo, you've been playing much more, right? And you've been playing it co-op, so I don't know why Hanson's kicking to me to start this thing up.
The last one.
We had this very weird intro about.
Played it.
Jeff, we're trying to assert the need for coverage like ours to exist. Can't be the first piece of games talking.
Look, when
we
in
do.
doubt,
Now
just
I'm
yell
fucking up.
sex. And
That's true. This game, I didn't play that much of the first one. This one is third person now.
Yeah.
Goofy sense of humor. Pretty in your face with it. People worked really hard on this game, and I never want to just throw it aside real quick. But it's like part of the experience is the first enemy they call a herp derp, and then you see in the settings you can change the amount of talking from always to some, and you change it to some, and it doesn't seem to change it at all. So then you turn the voice off, and that's just kind of how the experience goes.
That's how it's
But the gameplay is same as the first one, exploring this strange planet, multiple strange planets in this one. Learning about the flora and fauna, how they interact. You'll blow up the first critters and they make a green goo, and you walk in the green goo and it makes you slide around. Things will have explosive goo and you hit other guys into that and it has a chain reaction. Like learning about the rules of these biomes. And it's fun in co-op. It's kind of just a collectathon really, but a little more interesting tools. Like you get a hose quickly that you can wash things with or fill up like plants that need to be filled with water. It's kind of an unconventional tool set, but a lot of like pretty simple 3D platforming you might expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, some Metroidvania elements of like, well, in order to get this, I'm going to need this previous tool. Now that I have this, I can open up these different areas. I can shoot these crystals or whatever. I have been enjoying that. Once I finally got into like it starts very contained. You can send out a survey and like maybe one or two little resources will ping as you go. And then after you kind of find your home base and you establish that and you go out and you ping it and there's just stuff everywhere. And it's all like satisfying to get because it has that kind of survival aspect of crafting new things that are going to be useful for you. But instead of like banging on a tree to get 5 pieces of wood or whatever, you're kind of going into these different areas that seem very well crafted and have different enemy types, and you're using different elements and things like that to get these new kind of resources, and you're kind of searching for them, and it's like, okay, there's an egg up there that will, like level me up, but how am I actually going to get up there? I'll use my hose to like rehydrate this mushroom and that will create a new platform that I can jump on, and those kind of, I'm enjoying those aspects of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
and
in
the
co-op. Yeah.
The videos and voices like are just part of the humor. I do overall like with skipping a lot of the videos and stuff. I do like that it is a goofy world and that these creatures do look so strange. And you'll discover a new one, and they'll be remarkably actually cute or really stupid looking.
Yeah,
the design is fun too to see new examples of.
Yeah, and I was a sucker for even just like the run animation. Like it is so poppy. It's like. And then like when you're in any sort of liquid, like your legs jump up as well. It's like it is the poppiest running animation I think I've ever seen in a game. But it's like, okay, this is the
really
tone.
something.
Like it's setting the tone immediately for the world you're going to be inhabiting here. But I was just playing single player, and I had a fine time with it. But I am curious to see like, I think playing the split screen or online multiplayer would be the way to go. And like I'm wondering if there is kind of in that in the wake of Hazelight's success with stuff like Split Fiction, of like maybe there's just enough of an interest in split screen multiplayer where this would be a gem to play sitting on a couch together.
Maybe the on-railsness of Split Fiction and It Takes Two, I think, do it a lot of favors for the type of second person you can bring along. Play it with my partner who has played a lot of games but isn't a diehard everyday gamer. Yeah. And something like this, you're required to do a lot more like map investigating and following the compass and things that are really open world and specific to somebody who has like a big encyclopedia of video games in their head versus something that It Takes Two kind of guides you through.
Yeah. Are you think you're going to stick with it, Leo? Like, where's your enthusiasm at for Revenge of the Savage Planet?
I'll definitely play more. I'm excited to play more. Disappointing to get to the second biome and have a lot of the same creatures there. It's not like it's really its own world. You go to a whole different planet and then it's still kind of the same grunts and new ones.
Weird.
But stuff like that makes me wonder how much it'll assert its need to be kept playing versus just a cute few hours with my sweetie.
Oh, that sounds sweet. Yeah. Raccoon Logic is the name of this developer now. They were Typhoon Studios, but it's been through a whole journey. Yeah, I was playing on PS5. It chugged a little bit here and there. On my end, just playing full screen, but I'm curious to see how it runs for most people. But it's also on Game Pass if you want to get it on Xbox there. But cool. All right, there you go, Jeff. That's Revenge of the Savage Planet.
Good.
Slap it on a plastic lunchbox.
You can skip the fake commercials.
But I don't know. I'm not as turned off by you guys. I on the slider of where to put the voice, I'm like, I want some of the comedic voice.
I've left a little robot voice on. That's fine.
Okay.
It's just every time you walk in and it's like blasting you with a fake 80s commercial, you know the humor.
Yep.
We don't even have to describe it. You know exactly what it is.
Sci-fi. It's the live action from WALL-E, if that was just kind of, or the opening of Metal Gear Solid 4, if that kind of live action was just sprinkled throughout the experience here. Yeah, but it's cool. Yeah, it has the flavors of Subnautica as well, which is kind of a more kind of structured, designed version of Subnautica for navigating these spaces.
A lot of upgrades, and like you can collect the animals to have in your little garden and stuff. Some of those progression hooks too seem solid.
Yeah. Speaking of progression hooks, there's a game that came out, I think last year in early access, called Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. And it was one that I was meaning to get to for a very long time. And then we're doing some reaction stream. And Leo, I remember you said like, I bet that Vampire Survivors, but with mining in it, would be a really killer combo. And that was like the final push for finally checking out Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, which is, the Vampire Survivors offshoot from Deep Rock Galactic. And so I started playing it and it was just like immediately like, oh, this is the best. This is so damn good. And then Jacob was watching me play it on a plane, and then you scurried home. You asked the pilot to fly back from South America faster just so you could get back home and download Deep Rock Galactic Survivor.
Yeah, now I've been playing it in every MinnMax meeting.
Yeah, smart. I mean, you're a Vampire Survivors nut, sicko. What's the term you prefer?
Perfect.
Yeah, degenerate?
Degenerate. Yeah. Okay, there it is. How are you liking this compared to Vampire Survivors? Because I'm not as head over heels as that game, with that game as you are. But
I mean, it's an interesting question because it's like, I don't think if I played Vampire Survivors again now, I would be half as head over heels for it as I was like on first blush. That it's like you can kind of experience the novelty of that genre only once. So with that in mind, I think that this is like almost comprehensively kind of a better game than Vampire, or like just in, and it depends where Vampire Survivors is the ultimate brainless game. This has added depth while maintaining the feeling of like, man, there's just so much chaos going on. I love seeing all these monsters get killed. But like, it's the same. You walk around, your weapons auto-target and auto-shoot. You never have to hit like a jump button or a run button or whatever. But because it is underground and because you're able to like dig through the walls, there's just a surprising amount of strategy in kind of like Vampire Survivors, and this are games of kiting where you just get big groups of monsters to follow you around a screen. But when you can decide like how narrow of a path those monsters are going to follow you through, suddenly that strategy is like a lot more interesting, even though you still have like very little control over what your weapons are doing at any given time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or like bouncing projectiles, creating a little zone for yourself where it's like surrounded by walls, so it can keep just feeding on these same enemies over and over. A lot of strategy with it.
Being the engineer and you get little lightning rods and like, mining a path through here, then just like lining that entire thing with lightning rods, just like electrifying everything is so damn satisfying. But Leo, I think secretly, have you been playing the most of this thing? What do you think about Deep Rock Galactic Survivor?
I'm 30
I looked
hours?
at Leo's hour count and I was like, oh my God.
Really? It's one of those games that's just so easy to put more hours in than I would in another game I like in the same period of time, because it is such a podcast visualizer.
Oh my God.
It's like I partially love it, and I really love the podcast that I want an excuse to listen to.
And
it's so you never miss a second of what you're listening to. You don't have to read anything.
if you want to run around and collect gems and stuff. But I don't know. Yeah, I want more Vampire Survivors nuts to check this out, to compare the experience. Because to me, I'm like, I think the art looks good. It's clear. Upgrade paths are satisfying at all times. There's little quirks of like, okay, there's reloading with the guns technically, so you can unlock like boost for your reloading speed, but trying to manage like all the different weapons that are reloading at different rates at the bottom of the screen. Like there's enough going on here that's interesting enough while still having the basic Vampire Survivors kiting enemies around, getting, the super magnet and having all of the little XP fly into you and you feel like a god as you get 3 levels up at once. Like that same core level of satisfaction that Vampire Survivors has.
There's a lot more like, and this is, this could be a positive or a negative depending on what you like about Vampire Survivors, but like there is a lot more like, here is a mission for you to do. It's like, beat this map as this guy on hard and you will unlock something, or like each weapon has like little individual challenges and then that weapon permanently gets like a damage boost for the rest of the time. And so it is kind of like, it's like, what makes my brain feel good? A bunch of bullets bouncing around and also checklists. And so now there are checklists in the bullet bounce around game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my one kind of stumbling point with Vampire Survivors. I like streamed it at one point and they were like, oh, well, now you have to get the garlic and then like 3 levels from now you get the cross and that will unlock some new and it's like, just tell me what I have to do and then I'll do that thing, and not like try and figure out secrets or have to go to a guide. And this seems very straightforward in terms of telling you.
Yeah, there's a little messiness about like what is the best thing to do because you have so many options to level up so many things. But there is a general sense of whatever I do is generally pushing me forward. And I will say for whoever it's relevant to out there, I bounced off Vampire Survivors pretty hard. And I was into this faster than I bounced off of Vampire Survivors.
Yep.
It was different enough for me.
Yep. I'm in that exact same camp. Like this is going to be a staple. I feel like on Steam Deck. Maybe forever. Like I can't imagine ever uninstalling this. This is like the perfect Steam Deck game. Like if it ever comes out on Switch 2, that's going to be such a slam dunk. But it's
kind of a battery hog though, if we want to get into it.
Oh, the 3D.
It's my Steam Deck faster than anything else. Yeah.
But yeah, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. It's going 1.0 in September. If you want to wait for that. But I mean, it feels incredibly fully featured at this point. Like I haven't noticed anything at this point that would make it even seem like it wasn't 1.0, but more stuff coming in September technically, but it rules. I'm going to keep playing it for a very long time. All right. Hey, Jacob Geller and Jeffem, do you guys know who we should be thanking?
Wait, Ben, before you do that, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
To the person who commented 1.5 hours ago that Rockstar confirmed that GTA 6 was running on the base PS5, I'm sorry. I just saw that. Apparently they've said that's just a PS5. So I was wrong, and that's impressive.
They made it very clear. Sweet.
Now, I don't know, Patreon?
Yeah, hey, good call, man. Yeah, no, new Patreon supporters. People drop out all the time, so we appreciate new folks jumping in on Patreon, jumping in at any tier that works for them, like Micah N here. Not Micah from Red Dead 2, Haley. I won't get you started. But this Micah here, he's at the $2 tier, so he unlocks access to the Discord, and he can submit questions for the podcast or comments for the Deepest Dive, which we're doing now on Clay Obscure. Renzo jumped in at the $5 tier. GR jumped in at the $5 tier. They unlock that bonus podcast feed and access to the Discord and a ton more stuff. Bonus pod each and every week. Jump on in, folks. We greatly appreciate new supporters. It's a great time to jump in. We appreciate it. And shout out to some of our biggest supporters. But before we do that, we got to say goodbye to 2 dear friends who are going to go off and live their lives and let us really focus and hone down for the best of the best for community questions. So Jacob and Jeff.
You're selling us to Valnet?
That's right. Sorry. No. I hope you like browsers. All right. You guys want to clap out together? Hey, I am 8-Bit, everybody. Other huge supporters of ours. Shout out to I am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know about The Messenger. The double vinyl is being reissued for the wonderful game and wonderfuler soundtrack, The Messenger, everybody, from Sabotage Studios, the developers who went on to do Sea of Stars, of course. But this is the great vinyl soundtrack to The Messenger. You can get it in I8bit's wonderful online store, and you can check out everything else in that wonderful online store to get 10% off. You can use the promo code It's Gonna Be May. It's gonna be May, everybody.
Say it right.
What's that?
Say it right.
Is there a way to say it?
It's gonna be May.
Oh, is that what they're going for?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that at all. So that's right, 10%
really glad I
off
get
with
that
everybody
now, though.
with It's Gotta Be Me. And check out their online store. Help support I'm 8-Bit because they're wonderful folks. And you should help support I'm 8-Bit because they ship out a prize each and every week to whoever has the best question as we deem it submitted on Patreon. You support us at any tier on Patreon, even that $2 tier. You can submit questions. We choose our favorite, number one favorite. That person wins this prize. The prize this week, of course, is Ori and the Blind Forest. The double vinyl soundtrack to Ori and the Blind Forest. One of the best. Anna, I'm 8-Bit was a supporter of ours even back when you were on, right?
I was literally going to be like, so many things changed, but it genuinely makes me so happy that I'm 8-Bit still out here supporting MinnMax.
I know.
Like, it's awesome.
I know. I agree. So keep them around. Use that promo code, please. I ran into the founders at GDC and I was walking on the sidewalk, but I was like, how quickly can I kiss their ass while still walking on the sidewalk? Like, thank you guys for supporting us for so long. We really appreciate it. You guys rule. Hey, Michael Lane writes in and they said, hey, MinnMaxers, with the awful, sad deaths of Giant Bomb and Polygon, I would love if everyone could share their favorite videos or write-ups or any other content from those sites from over the years. I feel like Jeff and Dan playing the 3DS on a roller coaster is the exact vibe of MinnMax's Charge Shot videos, by the way, for New Show Plus. That is, yeah, if you've never seen that Giant Bomb video, that was fantastic. For one of the first big swings that Dan took when we went back to, or I guess when he started at Giant Bomb, was playing Mario 3 on a 3DS on a roller coaster to see who can get the farthest. It's a super good idea.
Awesome.
And shout out to like Jason, and I guess it was before Jan's time, right? But for like figuring out the tech of that, I guess it was Drew, right? Of like how to actually record that. Like, oh my God, what a mess.
I have so many from Polygon.
Me too.
Yeah, it's tough to pick out like just one specific one because I like so many of the people who have worked there throughout the years so much. Anna, one of my favorites that you did was the Barnes & Noble manga section article.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm still so proud of that story.
That's the kind of stuff that I love Polygon for. Jenna Stieber had a video that made it into my book, which was about the language of Animal Crossing.
Oh, yeah.
That was a fantastic video. Any of Matt Leone's oral history is all fantastic. I mean, I know it's really stupid to say like, oh, I can't narrow it down, it's all good. But like, seriously, just go like click on an author's name if you're ever like, yeah, I liked this one thing, and just like read a couple other pieces because you will find something else delightful.
I'm just nodding aggressively quietly. One of my favorite things that we ever did was, we did it twice actually. It was like an edit, like we used to do these, past tense, do like editorial packages with themes. And my favorite one that we ever did was Fashion Week theme. And we did it twice, and we just like all wrote about video game fashion, and like the art and the graphics were incredible. The stories were awesome. It was like, one of our freelancers, Cosma, like wrote a really great essay on like video game fashion and like reflecting like on his own fashion as it's changed throughout the years. So I really like that. And another piece of work that comes to mind is Nicole Carpenter has like obviously like done so much impact reporting throughout the years, like her breaking the story on the Gone Home studio and everything. Like for me as like a younger reporter, it was like, so I was just like in awe of her and her work, like leading up to that point, and also like her Union magazine. She literally wrote like basically an entire book, like a miniature book for Polygon called the Polygon like Union magazine, and it had really great art. It was like structured to look like a really cool zine that you would make in college.
Oh, cool.
I'll Nepo shout out Blake Hester's Connect piece for Polygon, which also has art by Kobe-Soft Joe. So it's an incredible thing for me.
Oh, right.
All the money in the world couldn't make Connect happen, it's called.
I also was going to call out Blake as well. We all just love Blake. But his road trip story is still one of my favorites things written about games of all time. But I also really loved his Crash Bandicoot and oral history one. I remember having a really great afternoon reading that one as well.
Yeah.
I love how Polygon is it's like you're sitting down to read a magazine, but it's on a website. That's what Polygon always felt like to me, is like elevated games reading. It always just felt way more comfy.
Yeah.
Like you need a cup of coffee before you read something on Polygon.
Yeah, I mean, Giant Bomb is just it's huge. I mean, it's up there for like the pantheon of, for me personally, just influential sites. I mean, it's Giant Bomb and 1UP. It's kind of the two sides of the coin for, okay, this type of content's more inspired by 1UP, like the game clubs, or this is more inspired by Giant Bomb. But I mean, it's just weird to think about the idea that, I mean, over the last, at least 15 years, I've maybe missed like 5 episodes of the Bombcast. Like, it's just,
Wow.
It's weird to have listened to that much of that site and the
900.
evolution. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So of course the best episode, the Game of the Year debates is probably the highlight still. I know it's very influential for Leo as well. And like a while ago, it was for Giant Bomb's anniversary, Dan Reichert reached out and he's like, hey, do you want to like record a video of you talking about your favorite Giant Bomb moment? We're like cutting together a bunch of clips for social. And I sent him one and it never aired. So I'll air it here, which is like, I thought like, oh, everyone's going to talk about the funniest moments. We're going to choose something a little bit different, which was just a little moment of during the Game of the Year debate, they were talking about Florence, that mobile game about like relationships and stuff.
Love that game.
And Vinny Caravello was talking about how much he loved it and how much it meant to him. And he got choked up and started crying talking about it. And my favorite thing was that there was not the reflex of like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm crying. Like he never apologized in any way. Just to have somebody like crying during a Game of the Year debate, be like, no, it's emotional, and I'm just going to own it, and we're going to have a conversation about these are human emotions. Obviously, it's like, God, that made me want to reach to the screen and kiss Vinny.
Totally. Yeah, and you know, as far as specific moments like that inspired how we go about them. Like, of course, Austin Walker's speech for Invisible Ink is often referenced, and I feel like is the blueprint for like why it is cool to do Game of the Year debates that way, where you have to really fight for something.
Right. That's your mode you try and snap into every time you have to fight for some weird immersive janky thing.
Shoot for the moon, land amongst the stars, but yeah.
That's right. That's it.
And I'll shout out Mario Party 5, the live one they did.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the most exciting pieces of content to come out of playing a video game online. Truly. I have remembered that thing for a decade.
That's sweet. Max BZ writes in and says, awesome alternate reality where billionaires realize the value of journalism, arts, and culture. So you get paid handsomely to build MinnMax into an organization as vibrant and powerful as the major newspapers of the 70s. I'm just thinking like, yeah, Washington Post, all the president's men, busy, office, bullpen, everyone's smoking. You each get 2 weeks of paid vacation every year. Thank you, Max. Are you pitching this? So how do you use it? Well, Miss Canada over there. How do y'all use it? If you had a billionaire fully funding MinnMax into a 1970s level news organization, what does it look like?
Well, I would know to just spend it all immediately because you never know when it could suddenly end. So I would buy a lot of sports cars and stuff.
Smart.
Assets.
Yeah. Generational wealth.
Yes.
I think we would kill a bullpen styled vibe because I think we all have such good chemistry and we'd like to hang out with each other. I think we would kill it. Like a smoshification of MinnMax where we're all just hanging out together all the time. That would be insane. Now, I think we might lose our magic if we switch models suddenly.
Okay.
That's what I worry. So we get the influx of cash. We all come full time. We all move to be near each other and start doing it in person. What if we lose the magic and then everyone makes fun of us? That's the big fear.
Or we just...
what if we all start hating each other?
I think that's the secret.
And then drama. And then people will have to make drama explainers of us.
Oh, people will read into little I'll glance at somebody in a weird way and they'll be like, Haley hates Jeffem, look. And they'll have like a clip show of me like looking at him weird or something.
Yeah.
And then they'll dig
that.
up another clip of you talking about Jeffem maybe deleting your layouts. From like years and years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As it is now, people know that I'm staring angrily at someone the entire record, but they can't tell who. So we can go with that.
It's up to them to figure out, though, and they can figure it out if they talk about it enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I do wonder, like with an infinite amount of money, I think we would benefit from there being a couple people whose whole job it is to like just do all the organizing. Because I feel like Ben, do all of that and have to still turn this thing on and entertain at the end of the day. Well, and I just wonder how much further we could all I think even just having someone who like reads all the emails, buckets everything, does
God.
all of that. One person, hire one person to do that. We don't need $1 billion. We need a salary for one person to do all that.
But then we'd have to have meetings
my
with
day-
them.
a long way.
Ugh.
My day producing and editing the podcast last week was the longest work day I've had in years.
You baby boy. I saw you make a sweet comment on the Patreon post about like, this is so hard to post this podcast, which was very sweet to see. Yeah. It's just the ad reads. You have to, it's hard. There's bullet points. It's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, Ben, of your take as someone who worked in a bullpen environment at Game Informer for years. Like, what if we just took that format and it was just MinnMax people in the bullpen? Obviously, we were not writing. We're not sitting there writing articles. I don't know what we do all day while you're working on everything else.
That's the tough part. What would people do all day? I think the sweetest thing you can do is like push harder for the MinnMax Spotlight formula. And maybe this is just a cop out because that's what I did so much at Game Informer was visiting studios. But if we just had like at all times somebody, one or two people were like visiting studios and we could just keep out churning.
That would be awesome.
Just churning out videos of like hopefully as insightful and raw and honest as we can get for game development all around the world at all times. Like that would
like
be
Sarah and Kelsey are on a trip for Infinity Nikki one week and then like me and Jacob to Remedy the next week and then we're just cycling through.
Yep.
And then in between we have pizza parties.
Oh my God.
And with $1 billion, you could get the best pizza ever.
Right.
Gold flake crust.
The cupped pepperonis. Wow.
It'd be tough to incorporate the Patreon supporters in a big way if we're constantly talking about the fact that we're milking this billionaire for all he's worth. But
we would just thank the daddy billionaire
Right.
instead of doing the thanks to the Patreon every
Right.
time.
You know how this whole thing operates? It's our Big Daddy Billionaire.
Daddy billionaire.
John Stevens.
we love you, John Stevens. It is fun to think about, but also weird of like, I don't know. I kind of like the structure of MinnMax right now. I do. We've talked about it a lot in Bonus Pod, but I do think if everyone was full time, I think we'd all drive each other insane. Or more importantly, I would drive other people insane. I think.
I can only talk about personally. I would personally love it. That is like,
Okay.
I can't picture a more fun job, but I need everyone to feel that way. Otherwise the vibes wouldn't be it.
You could pay everyone full time and then they can just go nurture other parts of the community. It's like, imagine like you pay people full time and then like Haley can do pro bono lawyer work and then Kelsey could run, like everyone could just have the time to do what they already do.
Yeah.
We could have a law firm portion of MinnMax where all that is indie devs get free legal advice.
Okay. Are you listening, billionaires?
And when they're really successful, they gave us the first sneak peek of their games.
Hot exclusive.
Perfect.
That's it.
Business brain right here.
Extremely ethical.
Yeah, now we're coming back around into being non-independent again.
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
Money corrupts everything.
But it is, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to drag us back too much into that Games Press discussion, but like it is such a weird idea of just like, okay, what other millionaire can we convince that games coverage is the way of the future for a couple of years before it eventually all melts down and crashes down? And so if there are models outside of that, if it's just elaborate crowdfunding, maybe slightly grosser sponsorships, but in the name of clarity, it all has to be communicated very clearly that this is just so this outlet can exist. Like, I mean, Kind of Funny is almost that, right? To have an 11-person team and just leaning more into the sponsored content, and they're making it work presumably pretty well over there. So I don't know, anything other than that idea of like, all right, rich guy, give us 2 years and then fire us. It just seems like it's been that again and again and again. It just sucks.
Yeah,
I think being beholden to any person who is holding the purse strings is just Patreon is a good model because you're beholden to like thousands of purse strings as opposed to one giant one. And so, no one's voice is really drowning out all the others. No one's voice is saying like, you have to do this, because you can just be like, well, there's 999 more of you, so I'm just not going to listen to this one.
What if Daddy Billionaire dies and leaves us all his money in the will, and we don't even know who he is? He just lives.
But we have to find a secret room to get it.
Oh, Daddy Billionaire has played Blueprints.
That's fair.
I heard this story about a daddy billionaire once, and I forget the details, so I hope you like a vague, barely remembered story, but I think I heard it on the radio. But the idea of like there was this crazy rich guy, like literally a billionaire.
Daddy Billionaire. And he had in his will that he wanted all of his money to go to the government when he died.
He just wanted to like
what
give
a
it,
loser.
like, give it to the Department of Agriculture. And like everyone in his
that's kinda
family's
nice.
like, what? You know, but he's like, I don't know. I just appreciated the services of the government. Here you go. Can you imagine that in your will? Just be like, here you go, government.
No.
How silly.
How did they get that to them?
To the government? Yeah.
Yeah, do they walk into the lobby and say, here's a check from Daddy Billionaire?
Have you heard of Daddy Billionaire? Well, here you go, Mrs. Government. Will Davidson writes in and says, hello. Hello. Obviously, the GTA 6 launch is going to be absolutely massive. Sales are going to be destroying records. That's true. I don't know why, but whenever I think about the sheer size of this launch for GTA 6, I get the strong urge of a terror in the pit of my stomach. Does anyone else have this strange sensation? What's happening to me?
I have this feeling. That's so funny though. What's happening to me at the end? I have this feeling of this feels like such a big momentous occasion. And I remember how big GTA 5 felt. And my brain immediately goes to how many more of these do I get? Which is very morbid.
Yep.
Like, do I get 3 more of these big things and then I die of old age? 4? And that makes me sad.
Yep, that's it. I mean, honestly, we're going to get probably 2.5 GTAs if we're lucky.
That's so few.
Oh, we're not going to live to GTA 10.
No, I'm sorry,
Of course
Kelsey.
we won't.
I know you have high hopes, but gotta let it go.
Maybe 10. Although maybe 10. Maybe not like 12.
Well, yeah, start eating your carrots.
What are we talking? What world?
Carrots keep you young.
I don't know.
Think about it. I think it's going to take even more and more time for each next GTA.
Yeah.
You know? So how many years
Possibly
in
take
the
more
right?
than this.
It'll be like 20
I
years.
It is bananas to think of how long it has been 12 years since the last GTA.
I was in a college dorm when GTA 5 came out. I am a 30-year-old business owner.
Just think
I
how
had to
cool you'll
choose
be
between
later.
going to the doctor versus buying GTA that week. That's genuinely what happened. I remember I didn't have money for both.
Oh, God. I get that idea of just, I don't know. The terror in the pit of your stomach, Will, is an interesting sensation, but just knowing that like a black hole of people's time and attention is about to be launched towards the world.
I love when the
like-
world gets like that, though.
Websites to take advantage of it. Not
Right.
enough. Not none.
Sure.
Not
There'll be some.
I like when the world is all focused on one thing at the same time and it's not something horrible happening. It's fun.
When's the last
it's
time?
kind of rare, right? Like a
Yeah.
large
Pokemon
pop
Go.
culture moment.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was it. I'm trying to think of like what
Yeah.
the obvious example is, but I guess it is Pokemon Go. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have precious few cultural touchstones for everybody compared to when there were 3 radio channels that everybody listened to.
Right.
And anything like that, like Marvel movies, which I don't like or watch. It's like, I like that I can start a conversation with pretty much anybody I run into in my day-to-day life about them.
This is my pitch for sports, by the way, when people are like, I don't like
Sure.
sports. I'm like, but it is such a good, easy small talk thing. Like, you
Yeah.
can talk to anybody
Oh my
if you
God.
know a tiny bit about sports.
By the way,
I used-
Kelsey, somebody at the MinnMax meetup in Brazil. By the way, shout out to everybody who came out to the MinnMax meetup in Brazil. Good Lord, there were like 40 people that came out in Sao Paulo. It was absolutely incredible. So thank you so much. But one person there in particular, Kelsey, they're like, let Kelsey know that I'm a huge Mets fan, that there are Mets fans in Sao Paulo. So there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I used to host at a restaurant, and walking people back to the table, you have to make small talk, and it's usually about the weather because, again, what touchstones do we all have? But they would go like, oh, are the Wolves playing tonight? And I would always be like, oh, I don't know. Or what was the score? I don't know.
You got to have like
It would have been a lot better if I was into one.
Yeah, if you had like a rebuttal of like, I don't know, but hey, what color is this dress? Let me show you this picture. Is it blue or is it gold? Just, some cultural
I was really
touchstone.
gonna say, how dare us say that we didn't have a unifying cultural moment? So we had black and brown dress or gold dress or blue dress.
Hell.
And I love that we had that.
You can't erase that history.
Yeah.
And I remember when a woman ran up to the host stand to show me her phone to ask my opinion on that.
Wait, really?
Yes.
What are the odds you have a memory about that stupid dress at that restaurant?
What did you guys see?
That's
Black
when
and
I saw
blue?
the photo.
No one
Come on,
remembers.
black and-
No one remembers and no one's going to
I
check.
saw the white and gold first.
Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue? Wow, white and gold?
All I know is I want to be buried in that dress because it was such a beautiful moment for society.
I can see you
married.
rocking that.
You look great in it.
Hey, thanks so much, everybody. That's Mildly Raven writes in and they say, I finally listened to Ben. Thank you. Finally, somebody listens to me on one thing.
I love how you talk to them. I don't know why I'm suddenly noticing.
Sorry.
Before they were like, "Hi, everybody," and you went, "Oh, hi,"
I know.
like nervously. It's like, why are you nervous?
I can't not. They say,
Oh, let me shake your hand.
oh,
Talking to me?
I finally listened to Ben and I checked out Into the Aether, the video game podcast. And I got to say, I think it's my new favorite podcast. It is so good. It is my favorite video game podcast at this point. They say, so what, currently running, to be clear. So Bombcast doesn't count. They say, so what are everybody else's under the radar podcast recommendations?
I was going to say Into the Aether, so I'm have to tap out now.
You wrote a story about them on Polygon, or you listed them for like podcast to watch or something, or somehow you wrote something about that. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I interviewed. I'm trying to remember. So many posts.
So many posts. I understand. I had an off-air conversation with Brendan over there recently, which was very nice, just to talk about, his YouTube channel and the podcast and stuff. And I got to kiss his ass a bunch. And we'd love to cross the streams in some way, but like that podcast is so pure with the two of them, like I can't go on there. I'd throw off the rhythm. And then it's like, I've got to find a way to bring them on here. So anyways, we'll figure out something in the future. But in that I talked about like, oh yeah, there's an article about you on Polygon and Anna wrote it. And Anna used to be with MinnMax. And so it was nice to force that connection there. But yeah, anybody got an under the radar podcast recommendation?
I mean, Jacob's not here for him to plug himself, but I love Something Rotten. I listen to every episode of Something Rotten, which is Jacob and Blake talking about rotten games. And it's always so unhinged and nice, and the tone of their conversation is different from any other gaming podcast I've listened to.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
I still love Hollywood Handbook. It's still like 80% of my listening is getting caught up on the 10 years of Hollywood Handbook that I missed before I got into it. Basically, the show is an improv game where the job is to have the worst conversation possible. Is like the whole conceit of the show, and it's broken my brain so much. Where I listen to it, I'm like, why would I listen to a podcast where people just like have a conversation? This is like so mumuch more fun. At the risk of waking up all of our Patreon supporters and bringing us to $0. That's how it feels sometimes.
Yeah, I have a couple dead podcasts that I recommend. The archive from Idle Thumbs for the Important If True podcast is still up. And I still have a bunch downloaded for like long car trips with my wife. Cause I'm like, well, they're from the game industry. It's kind of the Campo Santo folks, who now are at Valve, I suppose, but it's them just like focusing on scientific what ifs and talking about scientific research papers and then just spinning it out into the most comedic possible podcast. But I love Important If True. And one that, God help me, I hope I'm not the only person on earth who loved this podcast, but one of my favorite podcasts ever was so short-lived, and it was called Out of the Game. Help me out, everybody. I can't find archives of it anywhere, but if you have the archives, send me a link. But it was like when 1UP collapsed and GFW collapsed and all that stuff. It's kind of like the old GFW radio crew. They started this podcast where they were all from the game industry, but they talk about stuff outside of the game industry. So it was like Jeff Green and Sean Elliott, and Guy Kroll, who used to be at Newsweek and stuff. Now he's a big consultant and all that stuff. But yeah, they started the podcast where it was just them talking about like the history of shipwrecks and stuff. It was excellent, and I can't find it anywhere. It's killing me.
I literally just Googled it, and the first result was an archive of it.
Well, I've never Googled it.
I'll just send that to you right now.
I can't find it anywhere on my phone in the year 2025. What gives? You and your historical research.
Gotta start somewhere.
Team.
Yeah, that's
Got
right.
your team on it.
Somebody else got one they want to throw out there?
I actually do. Okay, now I can do another because I just remembered this as we were talking. I like Range Touch and I like Game Study Buddies, but my favorite thing from them was a Homestuck podcast called Homestuck Made This World. And like, if you want to understand like the internet and you want to understand like Homestuck culture, like even if you don't know Homestuck, it's like very, very good and it's very, very thorough. And it's like a really great listen. Like, yeah, one of my favorite podcasts.
Nice.
Ever.
There's a dead internet podcast that I also liked called Garbage Day, which now it was hosted by Ryan Broderick, and now he has another podcast called Panic World, which is good, but not. Garbage Day was very much just like, this is a weird phenomenon on the internet. Like, let's figure out where this came from and why this is happening. And his new podcast does a little bit of that too, but I really liked Garbage Day. And then also, if for a podcast that's still running. If you are like really nerdy about game history and want to learn more about that, the They Create Worlds podcast, you might find it a tiny bit dry if you're not like into that, but it is such incredible information. I kind of just throw on old episodes when I'm like cleaning the house sometimes.
Right on. Two more. I swear we're done. Side Story with Austin Walker, new podcast. It's kind of killing it in the charts, but he's kind of returning to gaming podcast, and it makes us all look like amateur doofuses. I guess it makes me look like an amateur doofus, just to be really cleler. Yeah, it's so good. It's called Side Story. And then,
But Haley especially.
Yeah, very much so.
Bonus pods taking hits. That one.
And then people make games. They have the podcast called The Games Press, which is very relevant for this episode. Jacob Keller was on an episode as well. Lolworthy wrote in. They say, "What's the objectively correct amount of pizza toppings? Not the toppings themselves, the number." They say, "Growing up, my dad used to order a combination pizza that was basically every topping. Work event pizzas usually have one. So what is the correct number?" And Lolworthy says 3 because they go with pepperoni,
that was gonna be my
sun-dried
answer.
tomatoes, and spinach. 3's good. 3's great.
Listen, I think here's why I thought everyone was going to say 3, but I think that we only think that because that's what the pizzerias offer.
Yeah.
They say it's a deal with 3 toppings, but you're saying if the same deal had 5, you wouldn't go, this is way better.
You wouldn't be able to like, at a certain point, you're not tasting all of the different toppings as much,
Right.
though.
Like it depends on
kind
the kind of pizza too. Like in the toppings themselves, right? Like the melody of the flavors.
How many different variations of sausage do you really need? You know, like there's
Yeah.
But
there's
when
like
you go to a
5
sit-down-
different meats that are the same that you can put on your pizza.
Yeah.
But when you go to a sit-down restaurant, it's always like, they don't just say mozzarella and pepperoni, and you go, yum. It's like they go, oh, all these different things, and they list them all. And then some of them have crazy crap on them, like walnuts and stuff. And then that's always when you're like, what the hell? The pizza is crazy. It can have like good mouth texture and stuff. But I just have never had enough room on here because I'm always limited to 3.
Sure. I mean, 1 is obviously a joke.
No,
That's-
I like 1.
I like
think
1.
1 is solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just pepperoni?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good meal.
Well, I mean, 1 is for work parties, as the writer said.
Keeping everybody happy.
2 makes it an event. And that's frankly all I need. 2 is
never
enough for
had
me to
2.
enjoy the. Can I finish? Haley?
Pepperoni.
Never had 2. 1 or 3. I've never had 2 things on a pizza in my life. Name one time. What? Pepperoni and a mushroom? Like, what are you talking about?
Do you like
Sausage and mushrooms
Hawaiian
real?
pizza? The Canadian bacon and pineapple. That's 2.
That Canadian bacon. Wait, what?
Haley calls it
Pineapple
bacon.
pizza.
Pineapple?
I've never had pineapple pizza, but I've had pineapple on pizza when there's more than just 2. To my
More than
point.
2. What
What else is in there?
When you order a Hawaiian pizza, it's just Canadian bacon and pineapple.
Yeah.
But I've had it on like fancy sit down restaurant where it's like all these crazy things. I'm
Barbecue
having
sauce and.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've never had a
chicken.
boring pineapple pizza.
No.
You've only had like extra fancy pineapple pizza.
I only ever eat extra fancy pineapple pizza. Yeah.
More walnuts, please.
I think 2 is fine. 2 is like is good. I'm happy with that. But the question wasn't what are you happy with? The question is what's this ideal? And
That's
it's
a
3.
great point.
I think you're pissing people
I
off
really
if you get
think
to 3.
big pizzeria is taking over your mind, Kelsey. I think you can have more than 3.
I don't.
If you
the
just
pizzerias
wish.
here don't say you can only have 3
No, but the
toppings. They
deal
say
is that it's always
that's
the
not
best
always
deal is
true.
3.
Compromise the
That is not always
integrity of
true.
the crust after, like if you do too many, you know?
The poor crust, it can't hold.
It's gonna fall. It's
crumbling.
It's Midgar. It's falling.
Hey, above the rotting pizza.
Probably the pizza I've had the most the last few years is the Domino's $5.99 each. And those are 2 toppings. So it could be the company dictating the amount of toppings that I'm comfortable with. But I go usually like Italian sausage and diced tomato, or like banana peppers and diced tomato or something. And then like, I don't know, the toppings I do like to get, having more than 2 of them, it feels like overkill. I don't know.
I got into a big fight with my mom because we were ordering pizza, and I wanted to order the pizza that had clams on it.
No.
And I said, that's fascinating. What the hell? I bet that would be good. And she said, no,
a big
Haley.
thing.
Yeah. And I was like, she said, no. And she made me feel like such an idiot. And I was like, I can't believe this. But I was also being devil's advocate, like egging her on. And it's fun when I make my mom mad over dumb stuff like clam pizza. But then you know what she did? When the pizza arrived, she had gotten me a small clam pizza because that's my mommy and she loves me. And it was just okay. It was just okay.
Haley, I'm so glad that you're bringing up the weird pizzas though, because I'm also a weird pizza enjoyer. Like I'm way more likely to order the least pizza looking pizza on the menu, not from like a delivery place, but like at a sit down restaurant.
Yeah.
If they've got a weird one that's got like corn on it and stuff, I'm like, sounds interesting. Let's do it. And everyone always gives me crap for it. No one has ever just been like, okay. Like no one has ever not commented on that choice. They always are like, that's a weird pizza.
That's annoying because it's the one place you can get a weird pizza because the to-go places aren't like walnuts. They're like, oh God, I don't have the money to put walnuts on this. It's pepperoni.
I wouldn't want that from a delivery place either.
No.
Like, that's not, it's a different vibe.
Thrown everywhere.
Totally.
All the walnuts will go everywhere.
We have a lot of pizza luces around here and punch pizzas. Those are a lot of the pizza options that my sweetie and I go to. And it's pizza luce is like only weird option, so you're not going to get made fun of there. But it is such a different thing. It's like I could have regular Pizza Hut or whatever the next meal. It feels like such a different thing to me.
Yeah.
I always had a bias against Pizza Luce too, so maybe this is. I just thought a lot of their pizzas were doing way too much, and so maybe this is that.
Yep,
coming
I
out
think
here.
that's right.
Sorry,
That's the case.
if you're Pizza Luce's.
There's a couple good ones,
no idea
and then the artichoke dip is why you order.
I don't know it either.
I don't know this Minnesota thing that is clearly very Minnesota, but the important question is this like they were being weird before Instagram took off, or was this like a okay, cool? Then I respect it. I think there's definitely some places now that are like, we're weird so that you take photos of us and put it on social media.
Clickbait pizza.
Yeah, or it's like that's it happens with ice cream shops, I feel like. I'm like, order our ice cream cone where it's got like 6 flaming marshmallows on top and a bunch of weird sculptures. Like, what? You just want to take a picture of this.
Coffee places like that all over the place now where it's like you're not ordering a coffee, you're ordering like a stack of candy arranged in a bouquet on top of the coffee.
I have a question for the panel. If you order a pizza that has 5 different types of cheese, so like feta and goat cheese and mozzarella, whatever, does that pizza have 0 toppings? Does that pizza have?
I know, that's what I was wondering. Yeah,
I think it does. 3 cheese
5?
pizza.
Maggi, that's a classic pizza. 4 cheese pizza is kind of.
Yeah, that's 0 toppings.
It has 4 toppings?
Yep, that's 0 toppings.
Yeah,
They
But then
charge
how come
you.
when you
0
get
toppings.
things right. 1 cheese is standard.
Yeah, so it would be 3. You'd have to deduct 1. Otherwise, then pepperoni would be 2 every time.
Yeah.
I think it's only a topping. Cheese can only be a topping if it's
White
a weird
pizzas
cheese.
further
Weird
complicates
cheese.
this. You know, a white pizza,
Like a blue cheese or something. You know, something that's not normally on.
So-
but if it's just
well,
like
yeah.
we've got cheddar
Okay,
and Colby Jack or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, those are both pizza cheeses.
Cheddar on a pizza would be a topping, I feel, because I feel like who puts cheddar
It
on a
needs to,
pizza?
if it's like a block of cheddar, then that counts as a topping.
Just a melted lump of
I think
cheddar.
the first cheese is not a topping no matter what, and anything additional are. I mean,
No.
you get charged for adding
Stupid.
That's a
Parmesan
good rule.
Reggiano
That's a
at Papa
stupid
John's
rule.
on there.
That's a stupid
Yes.
rule.
And
That's
what
a
else do
stupid
we have
rule,
as
and
the
I hate it, and
arbiters
I
of
don't like
this
it.
language
There
we
are no
all
arbiters.
speak? But
Nothing
these
stands, so there's no
companies,
truth now.
But then if it's mozzarella and then Parmesan, I feel like those aren't toppings, even though there's 2 cheeses.
Hey, did you guys hear the rumor that Tom Blackburn wrote
Don't
in? And
move on
Tom
from this.
Blackburn wrote in, and they say, hey,
It's not clean, but we have no choice.
we have no
Except
choice.
for like the fancy mozzarella. I think that's a topping.
Leo, your cat is attacking that microphone. So Tom Blackburn writes in and says, the GTA 6 trailer, it showed off sexy body part physics that looks subtle and realistic. Is the discourse on body physics...
And I've seen them myself, I swear.
That's right. That's what all of our bodies look like. So yeah, we understand. Is the discourse on body physics at a turning point now that they're making more accurate anatomy rather than clowny gooner junk?
Absolutely not. Have you seen any Hoyoverse game? The Gooners are alive and well. They're just finding their games. They just have their games
exactly.
now.
Okay.
100% agree with that.
But if it's like realistic perfect body, that's like a new level of discourse.
That's never going to be enough. Even if it's completely high def, perfect, accurate, 1,000,000 trillion polygons, they're going to want to goon to the things they can't see in real life, even if it is perfect.
It will never replace it for sure, but this question was brought up in the Slack without the GTA 6 attachment, and that is what I thought of. because as I saw that shot in the trailer, I said like, well, this is a different type of jiggle physics because this is honoring what someone like this really looks like. And that's
feminine.
a totally different value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finally have feminist jiggle physics, which requires more power that's going to knock down the entire Amazon rainforest. So what are we doing?
Mm-hmm. It's all worth it.
Is it really feminist if we sacrifice the Amazon rainforest?
Women would say no, but we need this representation.
Amazonians like Wonder Woman, right, Leo?
If we don't get representation for people who have perfect bodies from surgery, then when, you know.
That's a great point.
Right.
Gigglesby, more like Jigglesby, hell. They say, Haley McLean, for goodness sakes, please give us your opinion on the state of Overwatch. It made an appearance in the community's top played games recently, voted on the Discord every single week, and the online discourse around the game is the most positive I've seen in years. What's happening to Overwatch? It good now?
I called this. Didn't I say months ago? I said it's good again. Everyone just wants to complain and be a contrarian little baby face. And it's fun to make fun of this thing. Haha. It's good again. It's fun. They have perk system in the main game. And it's like, that's been really fun. I really I've fallen in love with Ana all over again because now she has the double nade, which just makes her even more fun. And then, they have this stadium mode, which... God, I want to turn off the annoying voice that talks over top of it. But other than that, it's been great. It's like you go in and you pick skills, and each round you sell your skills to buy new ones or and you build these kits. So now like Juno has a kit where she can just be launching her rockets every literally 5 seconds by round 5. And she's just insane. So you need to focus Juno more than anybody else in the whole map right away, which has never been the case before. And it's like the only thing I don't love, which is a me problem, is because I played this game for almost a decade and I need to do something else, I feel like I'm so used to knowing how everything works and like how long a cooldown is, what everyone's kit is, but to the point it's like second nature. But then when you're in Stadium, things get changed up so much that I have no natural instincts anymore for how things work. I was playing my first Stadium game, Meg went in a big fucking ice ball and started rolling at me, and she hasn't done that in 10 years. I said, what the hell is going on here? Apparently she got a whole new ability or something. But, they don't care about me, the long-term fan. They're trying to bring in new peeps who are all over at Marvel Rivals gooning at the new Emma Frost skin. So
don't bring that up. Don't bring
Gooning's
that up.
big.
It brought down Giant Bomb.
Gooning's in.
Gooning's still so healthy. Also modding.
So healthy.
The Gooners are like alive and well. They have
being
more.
catered to.
Yeah.
They're being absolutely catered to.
Yeah.
Huge demo. On the voice thing, I also turned the voices off in Deep Rock Galactic Survivor.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry to these developers for the third of 4 games we're talking about having the voices turned on, but
it's
maybe
so
a little
annoying
understated with the
Stadium,
voice actor.
Whoever's doing well, they have this like auto AI kind of voice that's just like, Ana with the big moves. And like all I did was like throw a nade into a team fight, which is like what you're supposed to do as Ana. And it's like, it's kind of fun that the game's calling that out. I also am not entirely clear if only I heard that or if everyone, I guess I hear other people's now that I think about it. But, Soldier will ult and get like a 3 kill, and it'll be like, Soldier slopping up the seconds, or like whatever the hell.
What? Slopping up the
pronouncers say. For the Gunners. Slop. He didn't say that, but it's something like that.
So, I mean, this has pulled you away. Dumb. It pulled you away from Marvel Rivals to get you back into Overwatch? Like, it's working?
Marvel Rivals is too gooner. Dead ass. It's like, I feel like I open that and
What are these words?
I'm getting gooned at, and I'm just trying to play a game and have fun, and I literally have to stare at Emma Frost's entire body.
Yeah, but if they don't have Emma Frost there, like, what will Valnet publish writing on? We won't get like 8 GIFs to goon to Emma Frost.
Top 10 got Emma Frost gifts to goon to. Number 3 will cream your jeans. I don't know.
My friend who's never played Marvel Rivals with my other friends, who always jokes about downloading it because it's so obvious he's not going to play it. Suddenly they drop Emma Frost and suddenly he's playing it.
Of course. Okay. Exactly.
Wow, huge, wild coincidence.
I jump between the 2 games, to be honest. It kind of is whatever. If my friends are online playing Overwatch, I play it. If my partner's playing Marvel Rivals, I'll play it.
Yeah.
My schooner. Sorry.
Sorry. And let the record show, I did just Google what is Gooner, and I had to go to No Stupid Questions for the subreddit. So I want you to know I'm a classy.
You brought up a question with the word Gooner.
They wrote it. I didn't construct it.
Yeah, but you didn't.
What did you think it meant?
I could have said. Jordan wrote in and said, howdy, MinnMax. What is something you've changed your mind about recently? Doesn't have to be a big thing, though it can be. It's just always refreshing, reassuring to see proof that people aren't destined to be stuck in one way of seeing things. This is a wonderful question that Jordan has entered several times. And every time he's entered it, I've been stumped. And I understand that's a terrible spot to be in your life of like, in the last year, something that I really changed my mind about. I am struggling, which is not good.
I only have one that's like not, super consequential in the grand scheme of things, but it's made a difference in my life, I guess, which is I'm biking to work like every day now.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that used to be a thing that it's not like I was like, oh, those idiots on bikes. It was just a thing where I was like, that seems difficult and like I'd have to gear up for it and that's going to be annoying. And like this whole process is just going to kind of suck. And I'd rather drive to the station and then take the train in or whatever. And it's been wonderful. And obviously it'll be different when the weather's like freezing and raining or whatever. But like, I really thought this, even on a nice day, would be kind of an ordeal that still sucked a little bit. And it's way better than driving. Like it's even better than like driving to the train and taking the train when the weather's nice. I'm like, I just get to like see some nature and wave at neighbors on this is great.
Oh
That's
my God.
awesome.
But you have like,
I don't know if I've talked about having a sweetie, but I have a sweetie and she's been biking to work as well. And just going past all the traffic on the like single lane street that gets there. It's really euphoric.
it's the best.
It's amazing.
But those Seattle hills, Kelsey, I mean.
Oh, I have an electric bike.
Oh, all right, great.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right,
I probably should have led with that. It's an
Okay.
electric bike. It's pedal assisted. So
that sounds amazing. So biking is good. That's the revelation we've had recently. Politically, we're all locked into the grave.
I said it wasn't.
I know. It's tough.
I'm starting to regret who I voted for, but that's still a work in progress. The big thing that I feel like I've really successfully worked through, and I'm sorry for a not short answer when we're running long, but I have naturally, just the way my brain works, the way that I go through experiences, I really noticed I was like collecting anecdotes in a big way for like for Letterboxd or for this podcast. So many things where it's just like there's an avenue to put this thought. And if there isn't, I'll at least write it down in some general place where it can become something someday. It can go in a video as a one-off joke or thought, or can be built on later. And it's like, if I don't do that, if I don't at least write it down, if I don't share it with somebody who I am thinking of when I think it and like, oh, they'd get something out of this or we'd have a good conversation. It's like, if I don't do that, then this was pointless.
Right.
Then having this thought or change of mind or any little thing, any little opinion, it's like, there's no value to this unless I can take it to that next level where it becomes something. Mm-hmm. And after thinking about that a lot, I've noticed just recently, like, oh, I've really successfully come around. I'm like, having a beautiful thought is inherently rewarding, is inherently a nice way to spend a few seconds, whether or not anything ever comes of it. I don't need to scramble up to go write it down. I can just like sit with it and take a moment. And that has been that exact thing was very hard to do a year ago when I first started kind of thinking about it. And now it's like my brain has actually kind of gotten there.
I've gotten obsessed recently with just how movies specifically, I guess you could say storytelling in general, but let's say movies specifically have just like corrupted humanity for giving everybody the assumption that there will be like a beautiful way to tie all these threads together in your life and everything will be impactful. Yeah. And specifically, I think about it a lot with a kid of just like, there's no one event, there's no one conversation I can have with this kid that'll change their life. But in a movie, that's just one scene and everything hinges on that and pivots. But it's like, how many times would you have to bring a kid to a beautiful location and have the same conversation before you can maybe turn that cruise liner just 2 degrees from whatever their trajectory naturally is? And so I wonder if that's related to your thing, Leo, just the idea of like, oh, if you just have the perfect thought and then you can string it together in this way, then like a huge pivot will happen in your life, or just this thing will be radically different. And I think that's also just a corruption of movies and the assumption that, oh no, it's just a whirlwind of chaos. That's life. And any semblance of structure is a curse from storytelling.
Maybe. I certainly only remember random stuff my dad said in the middle of a day we had a million days. Like, you can't predict what they're going to remember forever for no reason.
Yep, exactly.
So just be a perfect father every single day, make no mistakes. And then
exactly.
Done and done. What was
And if you do make mistakes, obsess over them. Like as a backup plan.
Okay, yeah. That sounds good.
I'm glad I
Chris Pelly writes in and says, no question. then we're moving on easy. No, they say games and games media just feels rough on all ends, like everything else in the world. So I just wanted to say thank you. I'm midway through my first actual deepest dive play along, and it's made everything more compelling in an environment where it's a struggle to let myself be compelled. I assume that's for Claire Obscure, but thank you for that, Chris. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for playing along to Claire Obscure with Jacob and Kelsey and Haley and I. Swan Song has a very appropriate question saying, if you could be blasted into the past and do a deepest dive on any game that is now considered retro while the game was still contemporary, when it was just released, what game would you choose? What do you think would be the most interesting game to unpack as it was releasing? Like, Anna, if we did the Mario 64 deepest dive right when that game launched, that would be a fascinating archive to have all of us just be like, what?
I just think every little bit of it would be so much more amazing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. For me, my answer, I feel like this isn't like that far back, but I think it would be really fun to deepest dive on Undertale and maybe like realize, like play through it and realize that there's like different endings and you have to play through it multiple ways. I don't know. Maybe that would be dumb because you wouldn't know how to play it. That's the whole point, right?
Right.
But I don't know. Just like I feel like that game was really impactful and like kind of now people only see it through the lens of the internet. So it'd be cool to have a conversation on it and a deep dive on it, like that wasn't influenced by all the conversations on it
totally
after the fact.
Have that pure recording.
Imagine the conversation where everybody figures out they got a different ending. That would have been crazy to document. That'd be so cool.
I think Shenmue would be one of the most interesting ones.
Great one.
Not even necessarily as like it's a good game, but just as like I think there would be so many weird little things that could be explored in that would have been just brand new weird at the time. Like, have you ever been able to just, open up all the drawers like this? Like, this is crazy. Gaming has changed forever. And like, did you see this on the wall inside this one random building? Like, it's just, it has so many little things in it in a time before that was really happening a lot. And so I think just the first time that a game was packed with a bunch of little pointless things would be a really interesting thing to be talking about in a contemporary sense.
Yeah, that idea of like games will never be the same. Like, I think Metal Gear Solid 2, maybe it seems cliche and obvious, but I think that'd be a fascinating one to unpack. Just to have like a recording of people speculating where they would think that story was going when they were only like a third of the way through it or something. Because I remember playing that game and being convinced like, okay, we're playing as Raiden for a bit, got it, but like, we're going to play a Snake for the finale. Like, obviously, Snake's coming back for the grand finale. And they're like, nope, he's back, but you don't get to play him ever again in that game. So I think just having, a recording of where you think that game's going to go before it goes off the rails harder than any other game has ever gone off the rails would be fascinating to have a document of. Ooh, anybody else got one? Leo, you got one?
It's The Last of Us Part 1. Aging Poorly in the Backstage Pass chat said the same thing. Speaking of opening a bunch of drawers.
Oh, yeah.
As far as games I'd want to unpack moments of, that's what I think of. I played it again a couple of years ago, and it still holds up so hard for me.
I was thinking about that one. It really felt like games had a shift when that game came out. I don't know. Is that a me thing? But it really was like, wow.
Nope. That wow was everybody said that wow. Developers are still saying wow. I feel like I don't know. I've had that experience so many times within the last couple of years of talking to developers about like, oh, what are your big inspirations for your game? And they're like, oh, we want to make a game like Last of Us. It's like, yeah, I guess. All right. We still got to look back to 2013. All right. Got it. We Go Giant writes in, says, I have a game for you. I checked the Wikipedia pages for these pairs of things. You have to guess which page has more total words. So, Leo, which page on Wikipedia has more words on it? The page for Blueprints, the 2025 video game, or Blueprint?
As long as it's not a trick of like it's just a list of the different places you could go with the word blueprint on Wikipedia, I have to think Blueprint. Concept.
No, incorrect. It is Blueprints. Has 100 more words on it, and that's embarrassing that you didn't know that.
That's close.
Only 100.
I was close.
Yeah, I was like,
We're close.
how many ways can you talk about the concept of a blueprint? You know?
The
Yeah.
history,
Sometimes they're
some
red.
iconic ones.
Kelsey,
Iconic examples. My mom's house.
I'm a
is
Wikipedia editor. Like, get those sections in there.
Kelsey, Paper Mario or Paper? Which has more written about
my
it? Now, this is
gosh.
Paper Mario, parentheses, game series.
I still think it's paper.
Incorrect.
That can-
Paper Mario has about 4,000 more words written about it.
Paper could include everything from the blueprint page.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Anna, Crazy Taxi or Taxi, the 1978 hit TV series?
I don't know that show. I'm gonna go with the Taxi series.
Correct. The Taxi TV series has more written about it than Crazy Taxi. Let's see. Of course, Haley. Ooh, that's a good one too. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh my god.
Probably one of the least discussed Zelda games, if we're being honest. Or Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter that he named after Zelda, which has a longer
That's
Wikipedia
great, because
page.
everyone always just talks about her because her name is Zelda.
They don't stop.
So what else has she done?
She's
I don't
directed.
know.
She's acted.
Nepo baby.
She's got a
Okay.
childhood section on there.
Great childhood section.
must.
It's a great read.
But Echoes of Wisdom was barely talked about.
We did the deepest dive on it and we barely talked.
I know. That's why I'm thinking like this. This is really hard. I'm gonna say Zelda Williams.
Foolish. No, of course it's Echoes of Wisdom. Has about 1,000 more words than Zelda Williams.
Oh, frig.
Okay, but I'll give you a redemption round.
Okay.
Death Stranding.
Oh my god.
Her death.
I mean, interesting. Or FedEx, the package delivery company.
Death Stranding. I
Correct.
feel
Death
so
Stranding
confident,
has
yeah.
got it in the bag.
Okay.
All right. What do y'all like for question of the week here?
I
Gotta
liked
be
the
pizza
MinnMax
one, right?
bullpen
Yeah.
one or the pizza one.
Yeah, I liked pizza.
I think pizza was probably the
We
biggest.
always choose the food one.
It's sad. It's sad. Sometimes we don't, but Anna, you're a guest of honor.
I think we've been on like a kick of saying we always choose the food ones and then not choosing the food ones
That could
lately.
be.
Oh.
That
Great
could
point.
be.
Then
Anna,
pizza it is. Pizza.
pizza it shall be. Congratulations, Lawworthy. You just won the prize from I'm 8-Bit, of course, which is Ori and the Blind Forest. And now it's time for something that we like to call Get a Load of This. Hey, I'll go first. Get a load of this. Kelsey, you're probably hip because you're a hip cat, but there's an artist named Robert Tinney who created a bunch of art for an old computer magazine called Byte. Do you know Byte, Kelsey? Okay.
I do.
I went down this rabbit hole recently, and like, if you like just surreal art of old floppy disks and stuff, Apple II disks flying through the sky, it's so good. Look up the cover art for Byte magazine. That's Byte, and Robert Tinney is the name of the artist, but it's just a good nostalgic blast. And now I'm like, need to find a way to get huge prints of these because it's like, God, I didn't realize I was so nostalgic for the floppy disk for the Apple II, but like, I want just a wall covered in these old things. Anybody
I
else
kind of
got?
hadn't thought about that like these covers are really interesting and cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this like,
don't
the
know.
future of computing and someone like slipping a tiny floppy disk into their tiny little watch and stuff. It's just like the level of future prediction that's way off, but kind of charming for how off it is. It's a sweet spot, I think.
Get a load of this. Here's a juicy nugget,
Hey.
whatever we're calling this thing. Infinity Nikki Update 1.5 came out, and it is terrible. It is a mess. There is a
Fascinating.
huge boycott going on right now. Girlcott, excuse me. The word boycott is banned in the official Infinity Nikki subreddit. But it's wild. Basically, they released not only they did some kind of standard predatory gotcha stuff when they hadn't really been doing that in the past, but instead of the outfits being 8 or 9 pieces, they're 11 pieces, and also your roll rate is worse and all of that stuff. They introduced a dyeing mechanic that dyeing clothes, not dyeing in real life. And it's just basically every single thing you want to unlock takes an enormous amount of resources. It's not per outfit, it's per item. But the worst part No, there's two worst parts. Worst part number one is that they retconned the entire story. I have 100 hours in Infinity Nikki, and this update is just kind of like, yeah, so that was all like alternate dimension kind of, and like not literally alternate dimension, but well, kind of, yeah. Like it really just kind of said everything you did up to this point doesn't really matter that much, and that was really disappointing, but also, most importantly, it's just a buggy mess. People are randomly losing some of their currencies. I've seen screenshots of people posting, like, I have negative 11 crystals for some reason. I don't know how that happened.
Oh
like,
my God.
I was having all kinds of, like, I've logged in several times where I just can't move. I can only jump. I just can't move forward at all. The menus are a mess. Like, it's a buggy mess, and it's been like a week now, and there's still not a lot of like real good communication or messaging from Infold. So it's bad. I'm hoping that this can turn around because I was really enjoying that game, but certainly not going to spend another dime while this is all going on.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Nikki, get a load of this, Nikki. I'm glad that we stinky Nikki. I'm glad that we talked about how handsome Jason is, because this is going to be a compliment. I'm sorry, but Jason, I'm putting a pic in here. He looks like Ben Hansen.
What are you talking? That
Show the picture. Can you bring that picture I just put in Core text chat? That's your face.
Are you out of your mind?
No.
People, I think I just am so boring looking that everybody thinks I look like other people, but no, let me see this.
Like, there's differences, don't get me wrong, but I think the overall, like, setup of this dude's face, where his nose is, where his mouth is, eyes and stuff, is your face.
And my eyes are above my nose.
Yeah, it's in the same order.
It's in the same order, top to bottom.
Well, thank you.
Like, and it's sometimes it looks more like you than other times, but I was feeling like no one said this yet, and I was almost gaslighting myself into thinking about it. It looks like
I think
you.
what we have to do is you just need to get incredibly jacked, and then we can make.
Oh,
Then we
smart.
can settle this.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you guys haven't seen my back. Maybe my back does look like that. No one knows. No one can.
Can you put this specific screenshot on
Where
the
did you
screen?
send this? I didn't see it anywhere you sent
It's
it.
cohorts text chat. Cohorts only's chat. And
in this
This
thing.
is the most it's looked like you is this screenshot of all the
Hang on,
images
this
I've
is-
seen.
This is a terrible way to bring. Okay. No one's going to be able to see this at all.
I want to show.
All right, I'll get it. I'll put it in post.
I'll
Put it in post. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a picture of Sasquatch. It's just a blurry background picture, but I appreciate it. Haley, you've gone over backwards to compliment me, so I'll take it. Thank you. What a
I
gift.
just saw that and I said I need to talk about this.
Thank you. Appreciate
Breaking.
There
it.
you go. Breaking news.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Get a load of this. Did you know that when you're driving somewhere and listening to music, you can, when you've arrived at your destination, be at home or at work, you can sit and listen to the rest of the song, and it's a nice way to steal a minute's peace in your day and create a sense of flow between your activities? Give it a try.
It's interesting.
That's interesting.
Just to sit and soak it in.
Yeah, just till the song's over.
Yeah, right on, man.
Time it with leaving, make your life feel a little more cinematic. I started doing it lately. It's time.
I'm too antsy and I always have to pee. So I don't know if I could do that.
Just let it flow.
Yeah.
I'm not pissing in my car.
Be at peace.
All right, Anna, can you save us, please?
Get a load of this. My first get a load of this brought to you by my uncle. Wisconsin man turns porta potty into custom fishing shack.
Perfect. Now we're talking.
It's called the Crappie Shack.
That's such a good idea. Why not? Because you could probably get one of those for pretty cheap.
Why not? Because they're really heavy.
Oh, really? Love
Is
it.
there ever an instance where the ice melts and the shack falls in the water?
All the time. Yeah. It's the leading
Something
cause
I've
of
never
death
thought
around here,
about.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they call it number 3.
Yeah. Get a load of this from the Discord channel. The community shares links all day, every day. It's the greatest news feed on the internet. We got a post from Pixel Breakdown on Blue Sky where they shared a picture and they say, "I will never forgive myself for bringing this monstrosity into existence. It's the fabled man skeleton used to animate the horses in the first Assassin's Creed game." And they actually show a picture of what it's like for the skeleton of the horses in Assassin's Creed, where they stretched out a human skeleton to make it fit for the rig of the horse in Assassin's Creed 1. And
How
it's disgusting.
dare they?
It's gross, but there's links below for all this fun stuff if you want to check it out, except for Leo's, which I don't know how to share a link to, but you get the idea.
Right.
Well, hey,
LeoBetter.com.
that's it. Smart. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this grand adventure. Thank you for watching, listening, sharing this episode of the MinnMax Show. Kelsey Lewin, you have something you wanted to plug?
Yeah, I just opened a store. We just opened a store, I should say, in Las Vegas. So there's a Pinkarilla in Las Vegas, 1 mile from the Strip now. So if you are visiting or a local, it is a literally $10 Uber ride, and it's to Chinatown, which has other cool stuff in it. So hope you come check it out.
Get some.
We're very proud of it.
Good game stores. Hell yeah. Is it your favorite store? Could you rank all the stores internally in your own
So
brand?
I'm gonna actually go to the store to work it a few days, like tomorrow. But I mean, I'm staying here in Seattle.
Yeah.
This is really my business partner's thing. He's got a place in Vegas and enjoys Vegas more than I do. To be honest, I'm not a fan of dry. My skin is not a fan of dry. But yeah, I mean, it's very cool building a new store just after having done it a couple of times to really. You learn so much every time. And so every time it's like, this is the most organized, perfectly put together thing I've ever seen. And if we open another one, I'm sure I'll say the same thing about that one. So.
Yep. That's awesome. Ana Diaz, thank you for joining us on this big adventure. What would you like to plug?
I have a couple things I would like to plug. I would first like to plug the union fundraiser on GoFundMe that's started to help raise funds for colleagues who have been laid off and need the financial support. And the second thing I would like to plug is an incoming thing from one of my coworkers, Pete Volk, who is going to be doing like a little interview series on everyone at Polygon. Everyone wants to do it at Polygon, like talking to them about them and their work and reflecting on their time there.
Cool.
And that's going to be called. There's no link for it yet because like people are just kind of figuring stuff as we go, but it'll be called PV Guide. And so I'll drop a link whenever it's ready, but I just wanted to like proactively plug that because my colleagues are awesome and they all deserve the work.
Yeah, there's links for all the stuff, including that union drive. What would you like to be doing at this phase, Ana? I mean, I know you want to kind of relax and think for a bit about your future career, but
I'm not exactly sure yet. Obviously like needing to pay bills and whatnot can sometimes trump like what I exactly want to do. But at this point, interested in like it. I'm not at the stage where I know exactly what I want to do, but I'd love to talk to people. If you have any role in any side of the games industry where you could use someone who knows social media well, trends really well, games, like traditional games journalism, hit me up. I have accepted some freelance work, but basically am open to any and all things to be fit for.
There we go. And where should people reach out to you?
Oh, okay. You can reach out to me at my email. It's just anadiazwrites@gmail.com.
Okay, awesome. It's in the description. And her Blue Sky's in the description if you want to reach out there as well. Sweet, that is it for this episode. Bonus pod this week. It was one of those business blasts where I jumped on with Haley to answer a bunch of questions from the community about where MinnMax is at, where we want to be moving in the future, the status of a bunch of different things. If you've wondered, like, hey, whatever happened to this? We basically give an update in that episode. So if you're at the $5 tier on Patreon, you unlock the bonus podcast feed. Bonus pod is in there. Deepest Dive is in there. A ton of stuff is in there. Next week, the plan is we're going to be launching the travelogue for Brazil for the big trip to Sao Paulo, which, by the way, it wasn't until I got home that I realized, oh, Sao Paulo, that's St. Paul. That's the same name as the Minnesota city. I just never connected it that it's the same name of the city.
Oh my God.
We'll talk all about it. Does it have a twin?
It does not. Well, no, not that I was aware of. It's so big that it doesn't have a twin. Like, did you know that Sao Paulo is the biggest city in all of the Americas, like north and south? It's like it's
I did not.
It's ridiculous. So we'll talk all about that full trip, and shout out again to everybody in Brazil who is so sweet. Everybody came out to the community meetup We are very appreciative for everybody being so kind, and we love the country, love the city, and so we'll talk all about it in the travelogue, but then also on Bonus Pod next week. If you want to hear an hour of fun Brazil and Gamescom, Latam breakdown, all that fun stuff. New show plus this week, Leo, how would you describe it?
The title was Skin Deep in Skincare, and I played Skin Deep, the immersive sim that I'm glad we have gameplay of on the channel, and Sarah gave skincare tips, and we talked about skincare.
It feels
and
like
it all worked.
It feels like a
there's
parody.
no other way to describe it.
It's amazing. It feels like a parody of a New Show Plus option, but it's like, well, if people vote for the parodies, then I guess that's just a real New Show Plus show.
And hopefully the people who want more gameplay, I hope we satisfy everybody.
Hell yeah. Let's see. Deepest Dive on Claire Obscure is going on. If you're enjoying that RPG, you can check out our first discussion, which is up in that bonus podcast feed and up on YouTube, where we cover everything in the game up until you get the 4th character. It's a fun chat. It's a 3-hour chat. If you want some people to give that game the discussion it deserves, unlock that in the bonus podcast feed for a convenient way of dealing with it yourself. And part 2, we're collecting your comments on everything in the game on May 16th. This is everything in the game up until you've dealt with both axons. That's the next stopping point. So once you've dealt with both axons, that's the stopping point for part 2 of the Deepest Dive. And we're going to be picking up the conversation from there. Reminder, Doc Lightning is happening right now. Our short documentary film festival with the community. If you feel like pushing yourself, being a little creative, you don't need to spend money to get a bunch of fancy equipment. Literally use your phone, use free editing software, shoot a documentary that's under 3 minutes. Highlight a loved one, highlight a family member, get some grandma's stories recorded. Anything you want to document, we're all for it. And there's a Discord channel where people can offer tips, suggestions. It's a really sweet community channel. And then at the end of the month, we're going to have a big screening, the film festival, for the 3rd annual Doc Lightning. So you can check that out there. And again, you can help support this thing directly by going to Patreon, or you can now go to youtube.com/MinnMax/join. If you want to directly support independent games media, youtube.com/MinnMax/join. Unlock over 140 hours of bonus content, extended versions of our videos, the pissy zones, all that fun stuff. And it's kind of in a, we're launching it, and we're going to be improving that tier as we move forward, connected to the Discord, all that fun stuff. But for now, it's just a great place to check out all those extended versions. And for $10, check it out for 1 month. You can cancel after that if you like. But if you've been looking for a way to support us outside of Patreon, there's your option.
Yeah, if YouTube's your main place, then you can get notifications when we make those posts about the extended versions. And yeah, it'll appear on your homepage. That kind of convenient stuff.
You bet. Awesome. All right. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. Oh, don't let me forget. Pew Pew Bang. Of course.
Yeah.
What is happening with Pew Pew Bang in the future? Do you want to give a calendar? Because there's going to be a little bit of a gap, potentially.
I actually don't think there's going to be a... Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I think we're good.
Oh, awesome. So when are the next episodes rolling out here?
Next Monday, which is...
The 12th.
The 12th.
Okay. Awesome. And what's the theme?
We haven't revealed that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What a
we do it
tease.
now?
It's kind of a surprise. It actually is a surprise.
It actually
really?
kind of is a surprise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
We tried really hard for this one.
Sweet. So subscribe to Pew Bang in a standalone podcast feed. Leave a review. Help spread a word. Help spread the good word about Pew Bang. We'd appreciate that. But that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Be good. Have fun. Let's go.